computer, yes. Okay, we're recording. As always, I am Brian Kynes, the creator of the Tales of Ulran, and these are other folks that are helping me write its history and finish up the book as we move forward in our game. To this side of me, over here, would be Jeremy Keaton. Jeremy is going to be playing the role of Brahmas, the Seraphim construct, if you will. It's kind of hard to describe. Down below me on this side, as always, is going to be Alex Porter. She'll be playing the role of Oma, which is a spirit walker character, a kind of custom class cleric slash summoner. She slums, and she's a summoner. It has no home, you know. To her side is Sean. He'll be playing Sade, or as I often call her Shade, because it's easier and I forget sometimes, which is a changeling shadow monk with a little bit of rogue to start off. And then above that, the anchor to our ship, the glue, the peanut butter to the jelly, Ron. Ron will be playing the avian cleric Ignatious Thistlebomb, or Iggy for short, because that's a lot to say. So tonight's, what we're going to try to get accomplished here, guys, is we're going to focus a little bit to begin with on Jeremy. Since he's new, we have some intros and some things that he needs to go through to get to where we are, okay? It's not like the old days where it's like, hey, you're sitting there and a bird pooped on your head. You start feeling dizzy, and then all of a sudden, you arrive in a city. You don't know how you got there. You know, we try not to do that shit.
I think it's one of my other characters' backstories.
Right on. He's like, hey, who stole my storyline? What the hell? If I'm not mistaken, when we get up to you, Ron, last thing I can remember that your character was going through, I know you were working on going towards that abode that King Omadon had promised you that used to belong to, her name was, just a minute. I wrote all of it down.
Mirieli?
Yes, Miralai.
Miralai, okay.
Miralai, yes.
I wrote it down, I just didn't pronounce it right.
You know what? You got points, buddy. That's good. That's better than I did. Okay. So you'll be in the ambassador's place there. The last person to stay in that place was another avian that was close to the king. You know that Basteil had unlocked some serious truths down there, and you and Rainlore had heard some things too that you've decided to keep pretty quiet about. I can't remember how much of a conversation we had after that, as far as I know. Once we got to the top, we said our goodbyes to Killian, and he hoped to rejoin us at some point and possibly quest with us at a later date. And I remember Danny's character, Basteil, was just really beside himself. He had so much on his mind that he didn't know what he was going to act on next. Okay. Right. I think Rainlore said he had to go back to the Hunters Guild because he had some things to take care of there. We know that there's some kind of rot happening to the south in Thornwood, and seems to be affecting these trees called the Sentinel Trees of Hamelsbyre. And we know the Rainlore is doing something to not only do that and undo that evil, but save a veiled elf, or what would be considered in regular 5th edition a wood elf, named Nadia, that is trapped down within that Thornwood. The actual forest itself has captured her. It is holding her hostage against her will. And Rainlore is going to try to break her free, and that seems to be some kind of crucial step in stopping what's happening in Thornwood, at least for now. Sean, you and Alex got along fabulously. It was good. It was some neat shit. They woke up the next morning. You on your ship, the Dreadnought, and Alex on your ship, the Lai Lung. And when you awoke, you found all kinds of troubling news. As you stood up, there was cold wind blowing in the main hallway, which is not normal. The doors ajar. You heard people rushing past, whispered voices about some kind of trouble. And when you went to investigate, you found the dead and murdered body of Dauntus, which is the ship's pretty much the explosives expert, the dwarven steampunk Joe Pesci sounding gambling dwarf that was always so fun just the night before. You had given word to Dahan as to what had happened, and you did some really awesome stuff, Alex. You were able to use Speak with Dead, or I don't know the name of the spell, but you're able to ask it 5 questions. And then you even went as far as to prolong how long it can be resurrected, because you're not strong enough to do that particular thing yet, but you were able to make it to where he lasted a little longer. Almost want to call it the refrigeration spell. We want to make sure he kept, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It was really well done. After that, you had decided you were going to meet, you and Dahan were going to go meet Sean's character, or Sade, in Leah's Rare and Exquisite Cuisine. This was an amazingly fancy restaurant that looked like it was on the inside of an actual airship with a tropical theme that you guys found. And you realized that it was ran by Leah herself. And Leah seems to be from a different land. And she looks like Whoopi Goldberg and talks with a very eccentric accent of almost, what is it I wrote down that her accent would sound like? Because I can't do it, but I can tell you.
Southern Creole?
What was it?
Southern Creole?
No, no. And that shows to show you how good I did it. It was like Zambodian is what I wrote down. What I end up getting across was it was fun, but it was a hot mess. So, but we got the flavor for who she was. And Sean, can you recall how far our conversation got? Were you or the beast? But I don't remember the details.
So if I remember correctly, and Alex can correct me if I don't remember correctly, we spoke with Dahan. I spoke with Dahan about the murders that were going on in the city, and they told me of their encounter with these shadow creatures.
He called them shadow imps.
Shadow imps, yes.
Yeah.
And then I'm telling them I am also investigating these murders. And I told them that I think they're staged. And I showed them the knives, the daggers that I found, or that I was given to me by Leandra.
Right.
And I was asked, and they told me that I need to speak with Basteil.
Okay. So we'll stop that action there. Okay, I'm going to talk with Ron here for a minute to see where Basteil goes, because I need to write him out of this until Danny has a chance to come back into the story. Then I'm going to take up with you for just a minute, Ron. Then we're going to jump into Jeremy's character. Okay, it's a lot to cover, but I swear to you, if I do this right and I don't force it, we're going to be under the same roof here at some damn point. Okay, so Ron, see if you can recall the last scene when you and Danny were playing.
Pretty much it was the leaving the tombs. We never really left and went anywhere from there.
Okay.
We cut from there. So we kind of said our goodbyes to Killian. Rainlore said he had his things, and then that was pretty much where we cut away.
Okay.
So we hadn't decided if he was going directly to speak to Omadon, if he was going to think about what he was going to do, or what.
Okay. Now, I do remember this, and this kind of helps with what we're going to do. I remember that your character was damn tired.
Yes.
I remember that we did some rolls, and you got like shitty rolls, and you were like falling asleep, standing up. You're not used to this. This is a lot of adventuring for your character.
Yeah, I'm an old guy. I can only take so much.
you're only a couple like 600 years old or something. It's not.
I think it's like 650.
Yeah, it's up there.
I'd have to-
It's you got Social Security checks coming, buddy. You're doing good.
I do.
So let's go ahead, and I will play the role of Basteil for just a moment.
Mhm.
And as you and he are there, I remember Rainlore said his goodbyes.
Mhm.
And he was headed out. He was going back, like I said earlier. So it would just leave you and Basteil there. And, you know, you've seen a very charming side of Basteil over the last several weeks. You've got to adventure with him. You know he has a sharp tongue. He goes from extremes of dead serious about things to sarcastically charming at the same time, back and forth. And as he stands out there and his back is leaning against the wall, right beside the door that we went into to go into this subterranean area of New Gemdar, you watch Rainlore walk off. And he goes back down through the gates. He's escorted by one of the guards. And the other one is standing there by us. And this is the one that is the more high-ranking of the two, the one that had the actual black feathers on the sides of his helmet, the actual silvered beak of the hawk on the, you know, and this was the more well-spoken one. Basteil says, we need a minute. He says like that to the guard, and the guard just stands there and gives him a good 5-second look or so. Basteil looks up again at him and he says, you can go tell King Omadon that I'll see him before the sun comes up. We can find our own way. And the two give a long look to each other. Just for the hell of it, Alex, roll me a 1d20 and a 1d4. This is for the guard and his resolve. Okay. What you got?
Let's see. I got a 5 and a 2. So 7.
I beat you. Ha! Okay, so Jeremy, just in case you don't realize what's going on here, Alex doesn't have the best luck rolling dice. So anytime that we need a low DC, look at Ron laughing too. And Alex is, see, we try to let her low rolling be a victory for the rest of us. So anytime I need to beat a DC of something like that, Alex is the guinea pig. She does it. So well done, young lady. Well done. Because I didn't roll very good at all, but I did better than that. With that, this guard takes the hint and says, walks over one step towards Basteil and gives him a long look and takes off the helmet in a rare moment. And he seems like he has very short-cut, militant-style, dirty blonde hair and a scarred-up face with a very crude scowl across it, clean-shaven. Looks to be about 49, 50 years old human. He looks at him. He goes, it's been a long last couple of weeks for the king. Come alone. He doesn't need any more distractions. What he needs now is rest. And you've given him that. I thank you. Basteil looks at him and gives him a nod and does something that you haven't seen him do in a while, Ron. He actually takes that scarf that usually hangs around his neck and he takes it and pulls it up over top of his nose and pulls his hood down tighter. Okay? There's something menacing about it when he does this, Ron. It's almost like he's, what's the word I want to say? And it's not transforming, it's not converting, maybe converting back into something that is not so nice, but maybe necessary. You know what I mean? And as he does that, he looks at you. And he says, we can't speak about the things that went on down there. You know that. You're muted, Ron. Go ahead.
I understand that. What are you going to do? What are you going to tell the king?
He waits for a long minute because he's just not quite sure. And he goes, the king is nothing more at this moment to me, Iggy, than a bridge that would fall if Valimar and Landreless weren't the pillars holding it up. You get my meaning? I have respect for him, but I've got to decide how the pillars are treated with this one. They're going to want to know everything that happened down there. And they're trusting me to be 100% transparent and honest with them. But there's pain waiting in my words for Valimar that he doesn't deserve. So it needs to come from you. I can't lie to somebody if I don't see him face to face. He says, when the time comes, and if I've figured this right, the king, he won't be awake in the morning. He hasn't slept well in weeks. No one else really knows that but us. I've got to go by Vander's and get a couple things. And I've got something I'm taking care of. And he looks at you for a minute. And he puts his hand on your shoulder, Ron. As he pulls that thing up a little bit more snug around his nose. And he says to you, and you can see kind of a grin underneath of it, like the cheek kind of comes up and you can see the stretch of fabric. He goes, I know it may seem like I'm abandoning you in a place like this, but you're in good hands. I hope you realize that now. You've met some people here so far that, truthfully, I'm too dangerous for you. I'm glad this is the least thing could happen so far. And what an exciting last 24 hours it's been. He says to you. He goes, and I'm going to have to make some improvements. And maybe the next time that we meet, I can have a little bit more clear conscience. And sweep out some of these webs that seem to be overtaking my home. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I understand.
He says, make strange friends along this journey, I'll tell you that. I never would have imagined this. He says, people are going to ask where I went. And that's why I'm not going to tell you where I'm going. Because I don't want to have to stick you with a lie either. I have too many of those within me already. And I need to stop that now. So you just tell them the truth. Tell them you have no fucking idea. And I'll see you again.
Take care of yourself. Be safe. And thank you. Thank you for bringing me here.
He says, you were meant to be here a long time ago before I brought you here. I just gave you the push out the door. He turns and walks slowly out towards that main great doorway that is the interlocking murals. If you've not seen that video, guys, it's a cool thing. That door is really neat. He looks up above and does like a movement with his fingers, and the doors part, and that loud grinding sound. It almost is, it's smooth sounding, almost like you're standing beside a large train that's rolling on tracks right beside you. It's amazing structure. Just for Jeremy, because he's never heard or saw of it. There's a door that seals off the top layer of the city, which is pretty much called the Hawk's Nest, this area up here. And it's the castle is named after King Omidon's family name. And if I could see it here, because I just now created it the other day, don't remember. But the thing is, there's a great war that happens every so many years between the giants from the north and the people, the humans that live here, are mortals. And this door depicts a scene of a battle. And the door actually has three-dimensional figures carved out of it, almost like a Da Vinci thing in stone, where there's like pieces of people sticking out of the door. And as you would have a tongue-grooved doors that would interlock and close like this, those pieces are people battling. Like this side are some humans. So there's an arm with a sword coming over. There's a flag with the banner of the hawks on it. At the top, there'll be a giant with a large spear coming across. And those natural pieces of the artwork are what interlock and make the door close. So when it slides apart, it's a really neat thing. And these doors are tons and tons, large freaking doors. And they are pulled apart with a chain system as within the inner wall. And as it breaks through the silence, you can hear the stone grinding and the chain links chiming heavily within. Basteil walks and fades off in the distance, does not turn back around to look at you, Ignatious. Okay? So, being there alone, Rainlore has left. He is going places you're not sure. You know you have this place to stay in tonight. Where are you headed?
I am going to head back to my suite back at the castle.
Okay.
I would probably, at this point in the night, I think I would kind of look around. I would reach in my pocket, kind of look at that figurine I picked up. And then I would fly home. You said I could enter through
Windows on the balcony that hang outside of it, yes.
Right.
And it is several hundred feet up on this castle, outlying to the side that has a lantern lit in the windows of it. Okay. It has several different doors, almost like a theater balcony that would have several that would fold out, like the angular ones at the top, almost like a church would have.
Yeah.
Would have those with stained glass depictions of great battles, hawks, and mortals defeating giants that would adorn them. This one might even have one in particularly made of the maiden that stayed there before you, Miralai. There might even be a newer window made to depict her, okay, which would be that of a woman that is angelic in nature holding two children wrapped up in a blanket. Which you understand what that means.
Yes.
With that, okay, let me look up a couple names here because I'm getting ready to do some word throwing, and I want to make sure that I have this. Okay, Ulden Hold. King Omidon's last name was Ulden, Ulden. Okay, so the castle that you're staying in is Castle Ulden Hold, Uldenhold. Okay, and his true full last name is Omidon Uldenian, 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 and they call the castle Ulden Hold. So that's something important to know, guys, okay? And plus, I need help memorizing because I've been world creating and I got so many names. Sean still sees me struggle with Gleandra every time I say her damn name, but I like it, you know. The fancier the word, the harder it is for me to remember. So I will say that you are going to head up into that room, Ron. And when you do land on the outer balcony, you sense something familiar. As there are drapes that blow back from the flap of your wings, mind you, it's still cold. Now it's about 20 degrees outside. It got pretty bitter cold tonight. Okay. When I wake you up the next morning, it will be the same day period that Sean and Alex are in. And then we'll get through the night here. Then we're going to take over with Jeremy. And then we're going to get into doing some fun shit. Okay. So as you go into that room, you sense, do you have detect magic spells or anything of that nature, Ron?
I do.
Yeah. You may do what you wish. I'm not trying to lead you, but
No.
there is something very familiar about this place, and you know somewhat of the story of Miralai. Do you remember me telling you some about it?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll keep it with that simple thing. The one thing that you know that many people don't, that you watch from afar, is you realize that Vargas, the Lord of the Black Wing Guard, actually had very strong feelings for Miralai before she left and never really told her how he felt. When she decided to go and be an ambassador of the city and try to mix with the Dareblins and see if a bond could be made, not only did the Order of the Stars not want her to go, and she was one of the maidens of song, if you remember correctly, the exact same thing that Silouan was. Okay, only she was high up in them. But Vargas didn't want her to go either for his own reasons. You were made to feel that there was a conspiracy going on, and this would be something important to write down. That the woman that didn't want you to leave either, Ron, the one that is over the Order of the Stars, the avian female, do you happen to remember her name and who she looked like? And it's okay if you don't, because I've got it in notes. I just don't have it on the tip of my tongue. Well, as you look, just listen to this, okay? You believe that she knew how Vargas felt. And she was afraid that this would become a weakness to the Darkwing Guard. And you believe the only reason Silouan's request was permitted was because, in a very cold way, this leader of the Order of the Stars, this female, let her go so it would drive the two apart. You've always felt that that was the true reason as you sat back and watched these things happen as you normally did, Ron. Okay? That was Ignatius's opinion of everything. There were many days where you would counsel Vargas. You would see him upset. He'd be leaving Wrathhaven, which is that part of the city. And you knew that he grew cold and was very frustrated with the fact that she was gone and in harm's way, and there was nothing that he could do for her. When she came back to the city after having the twins and was denied entry by her own people, that really sent Vargas over the top. And you realized that him having something to do with you being able to leave the city, Ron, and him looking at her and telling the maiden of the Order of the Stars and telling her after you'd already left, was kind of a nice gift from you in a way that he could kick her back in the teeth for what she did to him all that time ago. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
It's a deep plot, but it's something I finally am now getting able to come around to explain to you what was really going on there. And you saw all these kind of things. Okay. So as you enter the room, you remember her, and you never spoke to her particularly very much. She was always much younger. She was very enchanting. There were times when she would ask, what kind of things you had found, and she was always pleasant, the best singer of all of them. And it saddened you to see them not let her back into the city when that all went down. When you're up in here, would you like to detect magic, or would you like to do a search around here and see what kind of stuff you could find, or do you just want me to describe what it looks like?
Well, originally I was going to cast detect magic anyways because of that little figurine. For whatever reason, I was drawn to it. So, and the detect magic is a 30-foot radius. So,
okay. So, as far as that figurine is concerned, what did you write down about it beforehand?
it's about an inch and a half tall, and it looked like melanin or
Millennium.
millennium. Yes.
And it looked like that character.
Yes.
Okay.
And I took it from a scene depicting a battle with the giants.
Okay. So, when you cast detect magic, it detects anything within that area, correct?
Yes.
And is this a ceremony, or is this an instant thing?
It is casting time 1 action.
Oh, okay.
Concentration up to 10 minutes. It says for the duration, you sense the presence of magic within 30 feet of you. If you sense magic in this way, you can use your action to see a faint aura around any visible creature or object in the area that bears magic, and you learn its school of magic, if any.
Okay. So, let's do the room first, and then we'll talk about the figurine. Okay. So, when you go into the room, it's, and I don't mean to be so melodramatic, but this is just one of those moments where there is some serious things here. This room, it is sad in the way that this room has been cleaned up and left exactly as it is before Miralai took her own life. Okay, you were never given the exact details as to how she died. You just knew that when she was turned away from the avian city and came back here, and knew that she was shunned by her people because she bore the children of a Dwarven. Okay, when she came back here, she spent her final days in this room, and you know, all you were ever told by your people was that she passed away from sadness. Okay. And you're looking around this room and you're imagining what those last few days must have been like. I would like for you to roll a charisma check for me, Ron.
1 second.
Okay.
Still rating.
You're okay.
All right, charisma check. D20 here. Oh, no. 13. Not very good.
Okay. You're overwhelmed with emotions. You know, when you were inside the city, you were a pretty straight color individual. You know what I mean? You did your job. You did it very well. But here and seeing this and being around these lowlanders and shit like this, you almost are overcome with emotion, thinking about the fact that your own people drove someone away. And then you know about Silouan and that her having one of her wings removed from her, and the way you know that they're going to treat her in the future. And you're just glad that Brahmas is there to help shelter her and maybe give her a little bit of strength back. And you just can't help but get angry. And Ignatious doesn't get angry, not very often. But in this moment and being here in this place and thinking about these things, you're a little angry. Okay. With that, you detect that there is a teleportation circle here. Okay. That will make this a beacon for a place that you can come back to as a safe haven. Okay. So I know there were 2 spells and we discussed this, and I'm going to let you kind of select which one of those will be the one that is inside this place. Okay. When I was looking into it, there's a teleportation spell in a circle, and then there is a word of recall. Okay. Now I know those spells are somewhat similar. So Ron, just so I give you a little bit of chance to modify and make your own home yours. Okay. You can decide which one of those spells are here in this room that would best serve you. And one of the reasons I'm letting you have that is, one, because you know your people, very well. You know the kind of things that your people cast, and you've also did a little bit of background into the creation of your own city that we've only explored briefly, the Avian City of Dreams. So whichever one of those two spells that you think works the best for you, that's the one that is in this room with permanency, and it will not, it's going to be here regardless. I believe both those spells have that effect. And my daughter is spilling shit in the background as we speak. It's all good. There's an avalanche all of a sudden. It's crazy. So also in the room, you don't detect anything else magical in the room right now. And as you're sitting there and looking at that figurine, and you're remembering Millennium, and you're wondering exactly, who was he exactly? Why was he so powerful? Why was he the last straw? And if this bone collector could have taken that spirit, how would it have changed the game? You're very curious. And you realize that this is just a piece off of that board, but it is a very valuable thing for you to have and add to your collection. You've actually seen the person, the spirit of what this represents. And this could actually be brought up later in conversation between you and the king. This could be literally chess piece in the board for you, and it helps you remember that moment. But as for there is no magic coming off of it currently. Okay. Would you like to do a search of this place, or would you like to find a?
Absolutely. I definitely want to take a look around the new digs.
Okay, we'll do that, and then we're going to jump into you, Jeremy. I hope everybody enjoys this. When we're doing like this, I know it takes time to get from person to person, but that's kind of the nature of the beast. That's why we all want to get on the same damned wagon, and we're going to try to do that tonight. Okay, so go ahead and roll me. What do you think? Perception?
Yeah.
Okay. Ron is talking to the spirit world right now, everybody, so give him just a minute. He's consulting the bones. Okay. He summoned wife. It's all good. All right.
All right. Perception of 23.
You suck. Okay. You find the remote hidden in the couch that has been there for a longer. Okay. So with the 20,
$1.39 and change.
There you go. Right? Yeah. There's a Coke machine in the lobby of the castle. Jeremy, you'll want to hit that up when we go there later and stuff. Just to, you can use that change Ignatious got. Outside story, people. All right.
You should totally have an artificer that makes like a fizzy beverage.
You know what? Write that down, because that's some shit that I could very easily do. I can just see Shade. What is this strange beverage that you've given me? That's going to be good. Sean, you'll be the first one to drink that for us. Okay, with a 10 times 1.
It'll be like in The Boys. Did you like the fresca?
That's it. Yeah. This tastes like a new generation. That's Pepsi. It's Pepsi. Okay. You find a wrapping that would have went around the spear that was a weapon that Miralai used. And it would have been pretty much like, you know how the polearm people in this city have the banner of New Gemdar, the black and gold that hangs down almost like a flag. Avians and their ambassadors usually wrap something very similar around theirs. You would have found this wrapped on the bedpost when you did the magic. When you look for the magic, okay? Yeah, that's my DM's way of saying when he cast, that spell or whatever. And it has a spell within it. Okay. It is the bard spell of heroism. It can be done 1 time per day. And it is engraved in the cloth that you found wrapped around one of the bedposts. Okay. Also, you find a feathered brooch that she would have had and held her cloak to her body. And you can see that she has taken that off and left it sit on a nightstand beside the bed. She would have never went anywhere without it. Okay. You find a book underneath of the pillow, which would have been the opposite side of the bed that she would have slept in. And with what you rolled as you were going through and you look into this book, would you choose to open the book that you found in this room if it was underneath?
Oh, absolutely. My curiosity. I couldn't help myself.
I want to give the option because some people might be like, that's kind of a sacred thing. But with you, I want to give the options. Definitely you would open this up. Something even more sad to this, strangely, as you look in there is the design for clothes that she was in the process of making for her twins, that she was going to give them and make them, but you can see that she stopped before she got finished with the design plan. Okay. Also, you can identify that there is illusionary script in this book with that roll that would take you to do another identify spell to, identify if you wanted to. With the spell that you've already cast, I want to say this searching would take at least 10 or 15 or 20 minutes. It's a long thing. Would you want to cast that again and see what's inside the book? Or do you want to do that at another time?
I would cast it again, actually. Yes, I would. Trying to think.
You're ready to take a long rest, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to take a long rest, but I'm just looking whether I want to cast Identify or Detect Magic.
Well, if you detect magic, you'll be able to tell there's this illusionary script in the book, but you still wouldn't be able to read it. You would just know it's there, correct?
Right.
So Identify, I think, would be, you tell me, buddy.
Identify, you choose one object that you must touch throughout the casting of the spell, which takes 1 minute. If it is a magic item or some other magic imbued object, you learn its properties and how to use them, whether it requires attunement to use, and how many charges it has, if any.
I would, that sounds like, if I were a DM, and I am, I would say that sounds like to me that if it was invisible ink and you did Identify, you'd be able to read it.
Yeah, that's what I was leaning towards, was the Identify versus the Detect Magic.
Awesome. You're my kind of guy, Ron. I like it. All right. So when you cast that, just for the hell of it, roll me a wisdom check. I'm going to base how much of this becomes clear based on how well you roll this thing. D&D doesn't ask for that a lot. But I just want to see how well you perform the spell.
17.
Not bad. That beats a 10 is just average, 15 is challenging, 20 very challenging. So you're in that level.
It helps I have a 9 modifier. So.
It certainly does. Hell yeah, it does. So with that, I will say that you find your way to bed. And with the lantern there, you begin to read into this book a little bit as you end your day. Is that fair?
All right. Definitely fair.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not trying to say like go to bed, God damn it. I'm not trying to say.
Oh no, I'm ready, but
All right. You read in here that some of her feelings days before and her stay here. And you get to the chapter of this and you want to make this a note. You want to call this Mirali's journal. Okay. And you were able to get to the point of it that is her getting her hopes up and hoping that she is accepted back into the city. And she speaks of someone that will be upset with her, but she leaves them nameless. Okay? And she sounds cheery and hopeful, and that they will be glad that she has survived when she doesn't believe that she was expected to. It almost seems strange that the Order of the Stars let her do this, but she wants to prove the worth of the Maidens of Song. And she believes her children are an example, okay, that the teachings that you've been looking into, Ron, and that you know Danny's character is probably now off trying to sort out somehow. You know, Basteil's a part of this too, that there can be a union between angels and demons on some level, although this is a very mortal, primitive one. And her children are proof of that. Okay? Reading this is almost bittersweet because you know what happens. And you're still reading the past words of someone that hasn't had that cold reality shoved on them yet. Okay?
all right.
With that, we're going to say you drift into sleep.
Absolutely.
Okay. The next morning, now did you not, for some reason I'm thinking Basteil talked to you about going, you know, he mentioned to you, you have a lot of friends that you've made since you've been here. That was some of his last words to you. Okay. And to try to help this along, you know that the other place that you would probably feel the most comfortable other than this place right now in your room would be Vander's or the Heart of the Beast.
Right.
You've
right.
been to both, correct?
I do not believe I've been to the Heart of the Beast.
But you've been to Vander's.
I have been to Vander's and I've been to the Drunken Mug.
Okay. Okay. So.
Oh wait, the Heart of the Beast, is that the?
That's the place where Valdare and Tamara are from, and that's the place where all the contracts are brought in. They do monster hunting for profit and deals.
Yeah, no, I have not been there. I've been to the bar up in the Overwatch area or whatever we're calling it.
That was the Crow's Nest.
Yeah, but
And
I
you
have
went to the
not been
Drunken
to
Mug, I
Heart
think.
of the Beast.
Okay. So in the morning, where do you want to head to when you get up?
When I get up, I would probably head to Vander's.
I'll remember that. Okay. And Vander's is on the same street that the Drunken Mug is close to where the arena is here. And then the Heart of the Beast Salvage and Supply is at the very end of one of these circling streets on that same level. It's kind of like a 1, 2, 3 go. You know what I mean? It's probably less than a half mile between the three shops. Okay. With that, we're going to pause your action, Ron.
And Invalia was the Order of the Stars.
Thank you. Keep that handy. Invalia. What a
Took
great
me a minute
name.
to dig
I gotta
through and
remember
find
that
it.
shit. So those of you watching at home, the name is Invalia. Invalia. Okay. So it's like, and the password is Invalia. So having said that, let's go ahead and get to our buddy, Mr. Jeremy Keaton. All right. So now he's unmuted and ready to tell us how he feels about shit. Okay. So you have been at the city where Ignatious grew up in and where he's from. You're up in the avian city of dreams. You're in the main central part of this. The city itself is made up of 3 floating subcontinents that hover up around this, and there is a storm wall of spinning clouds that is always going constantly, almost like a fast rotation of the earth. You're always in the middle of what looks like this large cyclonic storm of slow-moving, of fairly quick-moving rolling clouds that encircle the city about a mile out from its perimeter. You know, the Maidens of Song are what keep this cloud coverage and these winds here and keep it protecting the city from intruders, from people that try to ascend the mountain, from the mountains of tears below that you fought at the foot of many, many years ago at a different time in your life. And you know all these adventurers that left some time ago. You know the Ignatious that left, Rainlore, the Dark Stalker Centaur, Basteil. All these people left to go back to the city of New Gemdar. They had more things they needed to take care of. They had found out a whole bunch of things about a great many things, actually. There's this theory that the roguish one, Basteil, the elven rogue, seems to be caught up in, that angels and demons at some point are to join forces. And almost like, and I dare say it, almost like the Dark Crystal, when the light and the dark beings need to make a pilgrimage and become one greater being to move this era and this time period into its next stage. You understand quite a bit about the Age of Dreams and the theories behind that we are in a lot of philosophical circles, that this time period that we are in currently right now is considered just a dream stage by many people. That we are still in the process of creating the perfect world so that mortals can be brought back into it, because it was stripped from them so long ago by angels and demons during the Great War, or the Dawn War. And a lot of people believe that our lives are nothing but just a tool used to remake the world and learn from our failures and learn from our improvements and try to make a perfect existence, so that when it is where it needs to be and the angels and demons see that we have fixed the world and mended it and make it ready for the humans and mortals to wake back up from the Age of Dreams, then we may just cease to exist. And then this realm will be given back to them. This bothers a lot of different people on a lot of different levels. But this is one thing that Basteil's character seems dead set on figuring out. And they have found some things in the city before they left here that gave them some leads as to where they might find more pieces of this puzzle. Okay? You've been staying there in Silouan. You've been nursing her and trying to teach and train her into being better than the one wing she has on her back. Trying to strengthen her and make her into a warrior. And you're using some ancient texts and things found deep within Brahmas's inner dimension that talk about this Lancer class that they had. And she's been doing that religiously, training within different chambers of Brahmas for days, weeks, and months. Even longer than that, years have passed by inside of you where only months have passed by outside of you. She has been training in here nonstop and growing in strength. She finally leaves, because we talked about that the last time we played. And she exits and goes back into her body to give it nourishment and to eat and do things like that. And you're finally finding some peace and quiet that you've not had in quite a while. Although you enjoy her company to a degree, you also have learned to cherish the quiet times. And now, Jeremy, your character has one of those. And you've been thinking about different things. You've been seeing her train. And you know that although you're trying to teach her how to evolve, you've got a long way to go yourself. You know, you've done soul searching, but you're in this great complex dimension, which is Brahmas, this celestially constructed seraphim. And there are so many endless doors that you still have to go through. You know what I mean? You spent what seemed like hundreds of years inside here, maybe feeling just sorry for yourself. You know, maybe you were just in here looking for answers that had to do with you. But after talking to Solaris, the actual angel, and knowing that what you did was very honorable, getting to step outside of this and be mortal again for a whole day, as I told you did at the end of the last campaign, you feel like you don't have to do any more searching of yourself. Now it's time to search this out and make this your own. You know what I mean? You don't have any more moral dilemma inside you. You know your wife has moved on, had children, was happy, and you're glad for that. You know that humanity moved on, and because of your efforts at the foot of the Mountain of Tears, that people were able to evolve and the mortals were saved. So now it's time to roll your sleeves back and just see what this fucking place has to offer. Your personal shit's kind of behind you now, and you're not real worried about all that soapbox stuff. You, like I say many times, you've got the keys to Lamborghini, Jeremy. So in saying that, you would be standing in a familiar room, and you would look like yourself. You would look like Merc. Okay? And you would be looking around, and you know that there are different places and rooms within this Brahmas's dimension, okay, that you would really like to see if you could unlock, you could visit, search around, if you will. So I'm going to bring up a map for you, okay? And let me select my share screen stuff here real quick and see if we can do this right while I'm recording. Let's go here. Okay, let's go share, and let's go to right here. Okay, and what's cool about this is when we're recording this, you guys always appear as if you're over here to the right of this map. No matter where I move this bar, when I've looked at recordings of this in the past, you're always over to the far right, which is great. And then when I'm looking at other things, you guys can't see it. Okay, is that music too loud for everybody? It's really faint right now, but if it gets too loud, Sean, you'll let me know, right, buddy? All right. So with that, Merc, you stand here in a hallway to a very familiar place, sir. This is one place that you come in quite often, and this is a place where you have practiced your fighting skills, okay? It always seems like there's some kind of fog that emanates and rolls around this room. And inside this room, there are shrines that seem to not only depict a past, but also have to do with things about what you've done since you've inhabited this. It takes on forms of things that are familiar to you. There are the forms of warforged and seraphim-like bodies that are set and motionless, almost like shrines. You know, there are these eerie blue torch flames that seem to be more of a spiritual energy that come up from them, and they never go out, and they're always lit. You've been in this room many times, but you've rarely ever tried to walk out past what is the triad of seraphim, which is what you've named this area, because they make a triangular shape. Okay. Tell me about your thoughts, what you would like to try to do here, Jeremy. Give me just a brief insight into your mind right now.
I suppose I'd want to go just kind of peek around a little bit. I'd say I've been in here for a while. I stayed somewhat motionless, somewhat restless. So maybe go try to seek out. I believe I remember you saying that Merc had wrote a whole mess of books.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
probably kind of go check them out, flip through them, just to kind of see give myself a little refresher on everything that's come to pass just in the recent past.
Okay. So as you do, and it's funny, when you go to read books inside this place, books that you've already read, you can literally put your hand out and start moving your finger as if you're flipping pages in this place, Jeremy. And almost spiritual books come into existence underneath your fingertips. It's almost like the futuristic movies when the guys are doing this on the screen and moving their shit. It almost does that. Any book that you've read while you've been in this place, and the library's in a different area, but if you recall the memory of it while you're in here, you simply put your hand out, start flipping through pages, and the book will materialize and hold itself in the air as you're flipping. Okay. So as you're doing that, you're looking down here and you're remembering the triad here, and there's something to this. I would like for you to roll me an investigation check, which is a 1d20 plus your investigation skills.
That would be an 8.
Okay. As you are flipping through this book, Alex, roll me a 1d20. See, now Jeremy, now he gets it. Now he gets it.
18.
18. Damn it. Shut you down, buddy.
She let me down.
Damn it. So as you're flipping through, nothing else really seems to come to mind. There's nothing jumping out of this book at you that reminds you of any kind of new room opening to this. Okay. As you walk into this middle, something that you've seen happen several different times comes into light. A rune emits underneath of your feet. Slowly comes into view for just a moment. And then begins to radiate brighter and then comes to its full potential. Okay? As that happens, let me move this just a little bit here. Okay. You see something happen that hasn't happened before. Something a little bit different. You've been into the training room and you know that that's to the left and then another left. You've been there before and you've fought these spiritual versions of creatures and trained yourself to some certain degree, but you see something else. You would notice that these doors up here above you to the north also fade as well when the rune comes up. They have never particularly faded before, and this seems very strange to you. Okay, let me go ahead and do that for you real quick. And as that happens, you see the doors seem to slide and fade, leaving openings for you to move from one place to the other. You now have the option of going to the left and moving up into this next room that you particularly have never been to before. What would you like to do?
I'll definitely, just out of the sake of curiosity, go and check it out.
Okay. So, as Merc decides to go northward and make his way into the room, you look around, this is what you see. You see a rune on the floor that has not yet been lit. There is something here for you. You've seen these symbols before. As a matter of fact, any of these ancient runes that seem like they were carved into the stone are things that are just waiting for you to unlock them. Maybe unlocking yourself, Jeremy. And as you walk into this room and you look around this, I would like for you to roll another, let's say, let me see here. What do you think, Ron? Think these should be investigation or should they be perception?
I am muted. I said in this case, I would think investigation.
Okay. All right, go ahead and roll me another one, Jeremy.
That would be an 18.
Okay. 18 will do it. As you look around this room, and you look onto this rune, you stand here for just a minute and you hear a familiar voice speak to you. And it's not inside your head. It seems to echo and reverberate off the walls inside this place. It's a very warm, very familiar sounding voice. And you recognize it as the voice of Solimari, the angel that you met, or the spirit of an actual angelic being that you met when you first brought this vessel, this body, to the alien city. Solimari is the one that said you could keep this vessel, that you would earn it in your life. As you hear this voice, it asks you in a very soft tone, are you ready to view things that you cannot touch with your mortal hand? Are you prepared?
Yes.
Okay, roll me a charisma check for that, please.
It's an 8.
Okay, you sound uncertain as you say this, to a degree. All right. Now, as you're saying this, an image is starting to come into view ever so slightly right in front of you. All right. And as it does, you see this figure, very familiar looking figure to you. Okay. That is the angelic deity known as Solimari. And you're seeing him show himself to you in this place. And he says to you, he goes, what are you afraid of?
I'm afraid of not being able to find the strength that I need.
He
I've gone a long way,
Nice.
but I'm not sure that I'll be able to get everything that I need within myself to finally return to my mortal realm.
He says to you, he goes, I've seen you do things with Brahmas's body. And he speaks as Brahmas as if he knew him. Like he knew the angel that was supposed to come into this. And you've always thought that Brahmas was the name of an angel. This thing was named after him. This is supposed to be his vessel. But obviously, Brahmas never made it to it. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, he fell. His soul got absorbed by the rest of the angels. He never made it to this. And as you say those words, he reminds you of some things. He says to you, he goes, I often watch from a distance. This place does not break the rules of my never having an interaction with the surface again. I've wasted that opportunity. He goes, and I've seen you be selfless in this place for ages. He goes, and I've seen you train Silouan in here and bestow courage upon other people. Because yet you do not reserve enough for yourself. And he goes, the time for selfless acts needs to come to an end. He says, it's time for you to have an impact on this age. He goes, you've been given another chance. I suggest you use it. Okay? With that, you get to add a 1d4 to a charisma saving throw at some point. Write that down on your sheet. He blesses you in a way. Okay? He says to you, I want you to search deep inside yourself. And I want you to try to peer out through Brahmas's eyes from here. Now, you know, there's different places inside here where you've been able to look out the windows before and see the outside surroundings of Brahmas, almost like you were looking at a tall castle wall. But you've never just thought that can manifest itself anywhere. But he's wanting you to focus in and try to get in tune with that here in this place. And he has just blessed you to that degree. Are you saying anything to him as he asked this of you?
Just I'll nod to him.
Okay. As you do, go ahead and roll me a charisma saving throw. You get good bonuses onto this. You get like it's a 1d20 plus your charisma modifier plus your proficiency bonus. And now you also get a 1d4 added to it as well.
That's a 16 using that 1d4.
Okay. With a 16, you hear him say, and he fades. There's a long moment there where you're not sure if what you did was enough. You look around, you look down on the floor, you think about it again, you think of what it looked like to be outside of Brahmas's body just not very long ago. What it was like to hold your wife, what it was like to feel the pain of dying when you were fighting those people at the foot of the mountains of tears, what it was like to go through your training, to ride a horse, feel the wind through your hair. And as you start thinking about those things, something comes into view around your character, something that you've never seen in this place ever before, Jeremy. Three windows appear. The lights of different places seem to shine in through the windows. One autumn, one summer, one spring. And they shine their respective light on the floor at your feet. As you look out, you see images of the actual city and where Brahmas's body is actually, well, you could call parked, would be out of the central one. On the one over here to the spring, you see other images of places you've been in, places you want to go in your mind. These are things that you want to accomplish. In the fall, these are things from your past. And these are places that you can go to revisit things that you've been through before, possibly. Maybe scenes, maybe something you could learn from. Okay? And these all seem to be gateways that lead to different parts of your memory. And they seem to infuse with this place. Okay? So this is a new feature that I thought you'd like. With that, it slowly begins to fade back out of existence. Just for curiosity's sake, would you have wanted to step towards one of these particularly, Jeremy?
I would think with just trying to get back into things, having sat stoic for so long, kind of static, I feel like just getting reattuned to the world around him would be his best bet. I don't think visiting the past right this very second would be conducive to his end goal.
Makes sense, buddy. As you do, and you look towards the central one, which would be the present, and you'd go to take a step towards it, the windows slowly fade, and you step through the image of it just barely. Having an epiphany that the present is right now where you're at. Now, just for expedience here, with that, we've decided that this has placed as a training grounds for you, Jeremy, which is absolutely badass. Okay. We could say that you went in there. Would you like to do some training in this place?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to move your character because you realize the present is now and it's being controlled by you. Okay. So Merc would make his way to where he knows the training grounds are. As your character would move his way southward, back amongst all these things, you would go to this spot. You would put your hand through the solid stone wall, knowing that there is a secret passage that you've walked through here many different times before, and a room reveals itself. And as you do, and you walk the rest of the way through, you follow the long stairs that seem to lead down into another place. Okay? When you go through those stairs, you come out here. At the moment when you come out, you're in a crossroads. There's heavy rain coming down, and you can actually feel this. This is something different that's never been here before. There is a storm out, okay? And there's a heavy fog about this place. You know that you have the memory of different creatures that you've encountered in your actual mortal life that you can summon out to do battle with when you were inside of this place. I would like for you to do a constitution check to do concentration, as if you're trying to keep concentration on a spell.
Three.
What was it?
A 3.
A 3. Okay, so with that, the fog gets heavier. The darkness grows in this place. Okay? And as it does, some random monsters come out and you're not able to control it. Okay? Let's say, yeah, why not? 2 giant spiders seem to appear to the lower southwest of you. Okay? And begin to move towards you. You realize that you didn't have very good control of this place, and emotionally you're kind of distraught for some reason. And they seem to be taking a major interest in you right now, and they're walking their way towards you. So, with that, I'd like for you to go ahead and roll initiative, man.
All right.
Okay, and then we're going to do this. Okay. Can you guys hear that music okay, or is it too loud?
I can barely hear it at all.
Huh.
I got a 12, but I haven't added any modifier for action yet.
Okay. So what was the action that you were wanting to try to do here? Are you thinking you're wanting to go at these things?
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna be swinging.
Are you going to do a spell, or what are you thinking?
I would say I'm probably going to start off with right here. Yeah, I'll say just for now, I'm just going to go ahead and start swinging for the fences just to get the dust off.
Okay, buddy. So you would add your dexterity to your initiative roll plus the bonuses in that square like we talked about just yesterday, and then go ahead and roll your d20 and tell me what your total is.
Okay. You said that would add my strength to it.
Oh no, it'd be your proficiency bonus, your dexterity, and then a 1d20. Plus, you have 2 for anticipation, I believe. Correct?
Yes.
So on your character sheet on the far right there, halfway down, you're going to see initiative. It's going to say 4 plus 2 plus, and then you're going to add your dex to it, which is 2 more, and then you add that to 20.
That's going to be 14.
14. Okay. Okay. Okay, wow. Got it. Okay. And then this one here is spider number, which one? Is that him? It is. Spider number 2. Evil villain number 2 and evil villain number 3. It's just like Star Trek. Okay. Okay, so spider number 2 is going to go first, Jeremy.
Okay.
Okay. As you look, and the rain is bouncing off of the exoskeleton of this 5-foot large spider. It seems to be running down and glistening as this eerie light seems to flicker within the several eyes that's on the front of its face as they all move around and come into focus and look at you. You focus in on it, and you can see multiple images of yourself within all the black eyes that line the front of its head. You hear a light, this kind of clicking sound as its feet seem to go into the dirt. Its sounds echo in throughout the castle, the dimension inside, and you find yourself transforming into Brahmas. And it looks like this. And that makes me happy. You realize combat's getting ready to happen, and you take on the form of the vessel that you've made your chosen home. All right? As the spider comes at you to attack. Actually, first it's going to do something smart. I'm going to roll a ranged attack for the spider. Is it's going to spit web at you from the location it's at right now currently. That would be spider number 2. Got it. And that's you. Got it. Okay. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. That'll work. Okay. It rolled a 20. What's your armor class primary?
Armor class primary is a 20.
Okay. So this actually hits you. Now, the web itself is not there meant to hurt you, but as long as it makes connection with you, it's done its job. So as this web comes flying through the air, you try to cut through it with your sword, but you're just a little bit late behind it. Planted your feet to do the blow, so you weren't able to evade it, and the web slams on top of you. I need you to roll a strength saving throw. And Sean, I would like you to roll 1d20 plus a 1d4 and tell me what his DC is.
Sean, text, he'd be right back. I can roll, or you can have Alex roll, either way.
Yeah, Alex, since you haven't got to jump in there yet, would you please roll a DC?
I got a 26.
Oh, it can't beat that. Even with a 20 and a 4. Okay, so as this web seems to go over top of you and automatically holds you in place, I'm going to say at the start of your turn, you're going to be able to do that as your major action. You'll be able to break right through it. Okay, so it's spinning that web at you, took its turn, and now it's going to use some movement, and it's going to encircle you when it sees you break free of that web, fearful of your might. See how much more movement he's got. So I'd say go about right here, because he's going to try to sneak up and flank your ass. Okay. With that, it is going to use a bonus action, and as it does, let me turn him around. I can do this too. Nope, not upside down. Let's do, no, not that. That one. That's what I'm talking about. Now he's facing your direction. Okay. So with that, you see then bite into something, and you hear what sounds like little balloons burst as more venom seems to start running down the fangs of this spider as it has used its bonus action to invoke some kind of extra poison into its bite, preparing itself. Okay. Now it is going to be your turn, sir. What would you like to do on your turn? This spider is 5, 10, 15, is about 20 foot from you, as is the other one. You're in the middle, you know your movement, you know how many attacks per round you have an idea of your abilities. What is it you would like to do on your turn?
And did you say breaking out of the web was going to be my major action for the turn?
It would be. So you'd have a bonus action, a reaction, and your movement. Or any spell that takes a bonus action to cast or a reaction to cast.
Okay. I'm going to say that I am going to bear with me here.
You're okay, buddy. And by the way, everyone else watching, we wanted to go ahead and record this because there was some neat story events and things to do here tonight, but Jeremy has not had yet a chance to do this in person. We've practiced it and we've talked about it, and I explained to him the rules, but he has yet to just jump on and smack the shit out of 2 spiders in the middle of the rainstorm of his mind. So, you know, a lot of firsts tonight. So we're going to bear with them the best we can. If you need a suggestion or something like that, Jeremy, all you got to do is ask.
Now, a major action, that's 1 per turn, correct? Or is that the 2 actions per turn?
That's 1 per turn.
Okay. So I still have my 2 normal actions.
Well, you'd have a reaction and a bonus action. And
Okay.
then, now you have the feat steadfast assault, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you can take subtract half your movement and do an extra attack on your turn. I'll let you do that for the hell of it. You know, you'd still have to move to one of them.
Right. I will go to the, I'll probably go ahead to the left one.
Okay, the one over here that hasn't spit the web yet, the one that has yet to go. Okay, you're going to turn and go that direction. Are you going to do something from a distance, or you want to get right up in melee range with him?
I'm definitely going to get to melee range.
Awesome.
Blinding Smite. Is that a bonus action?
Yep, you can put that on as a bonus action, and that actually infuses the next strike you have with Blinding Smite. That is a damn good move for a paladin. Okay, someone say you rush him. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it's going to be all your movement, okay? But because you're using the other half to do 1 extra attack, you've used your bonus action. So as you're running in, Brahmas is starting to light up. Do you want to use your fist, your shield, or your 2-handed sword to do this, man? How you want?
I'm going to smack at him with the great sword.
Okay, cool. So what's cool about your character is he's large and strong enough where this isn't like a Cloud from Final Fantasy VII sword. It's a 2-handed sword for a normal-sized person. You can wield it with 2 hands, and then you get your damage bonus plus half when you hit with it, or you can wield it with 1 because of your great strength. With this one, are you 2-handed it or are you 1-handed it?
2-hand.
Okay, and you've used your bonus action, so as you're running, you're invoking this energy around your sword as you're rushing towards him. Go ahead and make your attack to hit the spider. Alex, you need to turn your heater up.
That's a 27.
Yeah.
A 27. A 27 hits and breaches this creature. As you were coming down, you found some of the soft tissue in between some of its legs on the left side of its body, and your blade was able to get down in through there. You pass its damage resistance with that breaching strike. Okay. Go ahead and roll me damage and tell me what happens and what I need to do.
So it's 2d6 plus 3d8, correct?
Absolutely. And then does it, and what does blinding smite do? It blinds, right?
Let's see. Target must succeed a Constitution saving throw or be blinded until the spell ends.
Okay. So go ahead and roll your damage, and then we're going to talk about the saving throw, and it'll be the first time you've done that. I think you're going to like it.
That would be
By the
a
way, I meant to tell you, I misquoted you on great weapon fighting. That's the fighting style you took. So when you've got two hands on your sword, you re-roll ones for damage.
Yep.
So I just want that. So I had it wrong. It's not your strength bonus more. It's re-rolling one. I think it's ones and twos, isn't it?
Let me look.
I think it might be ones
so.
and twos. Ron, you remember that one, buddy? And you are muted.
When you roll a 1 or 2 on damage.
By God, hey, your DM, he knows a little shit. That's all I'm saying. That's
great.
awesome, sir. So roll your damage and tell me what you get.
That'd be a 38 damage.
Shit. And then, so 38 damage to the spider. Okay. And then you're going to roll the DC that he needs to beat. So it's blinding. So it's a constitution. Okay. So your spell DC is at the bottom of where your weapons and shit are in the middle of your character sheet. The first scroll is your spell save DC. The second scroll over is your attacks with spells. So it's the first one. So you're going to roll 1d20. You're going to add that first scroll's number to it and tell me what that total is. This is how well the blinding smite does.
It'd be a 16.
Okay, he has to beat a DC of 16 in order to not be blinded by this. And it's awesome, too, because you were looking at all those eyes staring up at you and glistening, and that made you think, like, all right, well, I'm going to blind your ass. Okay, let's see how we do. Fail. As you do that, a great radiant burst of light seems to come out, and all those eyes seem to glaze over as if almost like corpse eyes, like there's some kind of gray fog that's covered over top of them. And you see the thing scurry, and its legs kind of kick, and its head just smicks around, and it seems to spit out venom in an area around it, just exchanging randomly as a reaction. I need you to roll a dexterity saving throw. And the DC for that is going to be 14, Jeremy.
That would be 19.
You passed. All you'd have to do is move 5 foot backwards. I'm going to go ahead and do that with your character now. So when you rolled that, all you had to do is jump back up. This thing has some kind of reaction to where when it hits, it can use that and spray poison on everything around it within 5 foot. You jump back a step. Okay? It is blinded now. I'm going to write that down here. And this thing is bloodied and looks like it's in very bad shape. All right? Is that the end of your turn?
Yes.
Okay. After that, we're going to go ahead and say it is this spider's turn. I'm going to do a check to see if its heart is still in it. It is. It is still hungry and still wanting a piece of you. How long is it blinded for by that, Jeremy?
It says that until the spell ends, and it's concentration up to a minute.
Okay, so you're concentrating on it, correct? So
Yes.
he has disadvantage on attacking you, plus it's raining everywhere.
Yeah, and it can make another save at the end of its turns.
Okay, so I'm going to say this. You're backed away 5 foot. It doesn't know exactly where you are. But there's also rain hitting on your body, which may make a loud noise. So I'm going to say with passive perception here, this creature with its abilities is going to have a 14 to its passive perception to hear what is around it. I want you to roll a stealth check as you jumped backwards to see if it can hear you or pick up on where you might be.
It's a 16.
Okay. You're able to slide back knowing that you've blinded it. It is not able to find exactly where you are. Alex.
Yep.
I want you to roll me a 1d4. A 1 and a 2, the creature attacks at him. A 3 and a 3, he attacks up. And a 4, he attacks down.
Or
A 4, the creature moves southward and goes to swing at absolutely nothing as the rain from all around it seems to be distracting it to some degree, and it cannot focus in on where your character is. Okay? Nope, not goblin. Let's do this one. Okay, he moves down this area and he spits out some more venom and stuff, but no one's home. Okay? The next turn is going to be the spider over here that shot the web at you. With that, it is going to circle up above you more. 5, 10, 15, 20. Okay, it's used 20 foot of its movement. It is going to spit web as a bonus action again. 24.
That connects.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute. No. I got to check something real quick. No, it does not have enough web to spit at again yet. It takes a little bit of time for them to build that back up. With that, if that's not an option, it is going to come at you and it is going to attack once with a talon and once with a bite as it crawls up behind you as you are watching this one over here and trying to be stealthy. Okay, I'm not giving it surprise, but just for theatrics. Okay, let's roll. $25.
That does it.
And does that breach you or does that just
No.
hit you?
Just hits.
Okay, so as this creature comes in, it comes in with this large taloned arm and comes down at you and strikes at your body. I'm going to roll damage for that, and you tell me what it does to you, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, that's 10 points of piercing damage. Okay, so Merc, inside there, you see this big arm coming down as you're inside of this, almost like a simulator now inside of this creature. You see this big arm coming down at you, and it hits into your body. I know Merc has a non-lethal damage threshold of 5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you take 2 points of lethal damage to Merc. Okay, and the 10 points of damage is enough to just do 1 point to your AP total for outer body.
Okay.
Okay, and that's all it did. Okay, now it's going to try its bite. Okay, 22.
That goes.
Okay, that one hits you.
Yep.
And the bite does 6. So Merc would take 1 point of lethal on the inside of this, and the body, it wasn't even enough to do 1 point of it, but you want to write that down in your other category because 10 of those equals 1 to your outer armor. Okay.
Right.
So it did 6. Okay. That's the end of the creature's turn. And now it is your turn.
All right. Let's see. I'm going to I think I want to go ahead and throw a hunter's mark
Okay, that's
on
a
the
bonus
spider
action.
that just come after me.
Now, you can do that because it's not another, but it's a concentration spell.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Well, I have
No.
that feat where I can choose one to cast without concentration.
Absolutely, you do. And is Hunter's Mark a paladin spell?
I believe it is, yes.
Okay, I didn't know if it was in there something they could. Oh, and you have Hunter's Mark because you're a vengeance.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we'll say Hunter's Mark is the spell that you take at feet where you don't have to have concentration on it, and that, sir, is badass.
And that would
Okay.
be for.
And which one you want to put that on, bud?
I'm going to put that on the Hunter's Mark, and it'll be for 6 turns.
Okay, and well, I'm sorry. I knew that. I should have been more clear. Which spider you want to put it on?
The one that just hit me.
Okay, so that spider, which just hit you, and now it's going to be Hunter's marked. So let's do that. Okay, just a minute. Love doing this. G spider 2. Okay, got it. I do this. I do this. I give it another one. Put it under here. And now I do this. Marker. It only takes like just a few seconds. All right. And let's do this. Bam. Nope, no, let's make it bigger. We can do better than that. Oh, yeah. Bam. Okay, let's resize. Okay. That spider's Hunter's marked. That's what the red ore around it means, okay?
Okay.
All right. So that was your bonus action. You're still holding concentration on this. I want you to do me a Constitution saving throw when it attacked you that one time there, since it did hit you, to see if you're able to keep concentration on your blinding smite on this creature.
All right, you said a Constitution save.
Yep.
That's an 11.
It does not work. You lose concentration on the blinding from the other creature. This creature is no longer blinded. Okay? All right, now you've used your bonus action. It's Hunter's marked. What are you doing with the rest of your turn?
I'm going to turn around and give it a nice little baseball swing.
Okay, now you want to use this as your 3 attacks this turn or your 2?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and use it as the 3.
Go ahead and get to the fences, man.
So that would be 3 separate rolls of 1d20 plus 9, right?
Absolutely, unless you have something to modify it or make it better, you know. But you've already used your bonus action for Hunter's Mark, so now you're just going for it.
First one.
There you go. I'll even face you towards him. How about that? Bam.
That'll work. First one is a 11.
11 misses. You swing the first time at the creature, and its legs come back, and it rears up on the back half of its body as it raises up to be about 6 foot in the air, looking down upon you as your swing goes wide underneath its front legs.
Next one would be a 14.
A 14 also misses. As you come down again to swing at its head, that's up in the air. Gravity takes over, and it lands back down and spreads out low again as this time you swung over top of the creature. You feel that you are sluggish and having a hard time hitting. You have one more attack.
That would be a 17.
A 17 hits, but it does not breach. Go ahead and roll damage for your 3rd swing. Now you have combo attack, so if those would have hit in succession, they would have done more as you went. You understand?
Right.
Okay.
All right.
This is 2d6 plus a lot, because Brahmas has a 20 in strength, and plus he has 3 in mighty attack. He's a son of a bitch, Ron.
2d6 plus 8. That's 14 damage.
14 points of damage. And that is spider number 2, I believe, isn't it? Let me see.
Yes.
Yes, okay, cool, got it. All right, with that, the creature looks hurt. Okay, you have your reaction and your movement. Do you want to stay toe-to-toe this thing, or what do you want to do?
Yep, I'm going to stay put.
Okay. After that, this other spider here from the back is not blinded anymore and comes up to flank you, is going to attack you with advantage. Okay. 2 attacks from the spider. The first one is a 16.
Doesn't do it.
Okay. As it comes at you, let's say this could be interesting. Okay. You know how you have so much added to your defenses because of your weapon and then so much because of your dodging?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So remind me, as you look at your armor class there, at the very top, there's going to be the one box on the left is everything that you have to dodge. And I believe that's a 2, right?
Yes.
Okay. Then to the right, there's an amount of numbers there, and that's how much it is for you to block. It's like repel, proficiency bonus. What's that number?
8. 4 plus 4 is what I got.
Okay. So roll me a 1d10. A 1 and a 2, you dodge it. A 3 through 10, and you block it with your weapon.
6.
Okay, you blocked it coming down at you with its talons with your sword as you repelled it. So roll a damage, half damage attack.
My butterfly, the second greatest name's Rose Flutterfly.
So that's 2d6 plus 8, half damage.
Yes.
It'd be whatever half of 11. I don't know if you round down or round up.
A round down for these, that'd be 5. So as the creature came in to attack you, one of its legs come off. As it came down with a lot of velocity, you brought your sword up to meet it, not an attack, but a defensive thing, and just passively, it ran right into your blade, coming at it with its legs, and it took damage from that. That's one of our mechanics that we use, okay?
Cool.
So after that, it crumples down. This thing is severely hurt, and it is going to roll to see. No, it did not make it. It is going to try to scamper off. You can use your reaction to take an attack of opportunity against it if you wish. Or
Absolutely.
Okay, go ahead and roll. It is going to try to scamper away from you.
Actually, I'll go ahead and let it go.
Okay. It begins to scamper away. Okay, now it is going to be, I believe you went, then it went, then it's going to be this spider's turn that you have Hunter's Mark, correct?
Yes.
Okay. With that, it does not have advantage any longer. All right, and it is going to do a poison spray at you with a bonus action and attack you once. Roll versus a DC of 21 dexterity.
Dexterity save.
Yep.
That's a 13.
Okay, you fail. I'm not going to move your character. And you take 7 points of poison damage. Now that gets onto Promise and onto him. That 7 points goes towards your inner body.
Okay.
Okay? And then the attack comes. $19.
Doesn't do it.
Okay,
Can
roll,
I use
roll 1d10.
use my reaction?
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to use my reaction for the counter strike.
Awesome. Okay, so he missed you by 6. Okay, so you add 6 to your swing here to counter strike this thing. Go ahead.
That'd be my +9 plus another 6.
Yeah, because that's how bad he missed you.
All right.
It's brutal.
That's 26.
That hits and breaches. This is something I do, Jeremy. When you kill something, I always ask you to paint me a picture. So paint me a picture. You just put the killing blow on this creature that you had a Hunter's Mark on, just for the hell of it. If you want to roll up the damage, you can. Whatever you do, you add a 1d6 for Hunter's Mark on top of that as well.
Okay. Let's see. That's 21 damage.
Okay. Paint me a picture. What's it look like?
I want to say as he takes that poison, he's kind of reeling back a little bit, but he kind of takes that step back and grabs that great sword and just plops like a fly swatter down on this thing.
Okay. All right. As you do, the shell cracks open, and the creature, its legs start to kick and shake as it's making these clicking noises. The eyes seem to go lifeless, all of them staring up at you as the rain comes down, is pouring along the sides of its exoskeleton. Its body falls from the weight where the legs are no longer supporting it, and it crumples to the ground right at your feet. As it does, the creature turns into dust and seems to blow away somehow, and vanishes right in front of your very eyes as you realize that this place is not exactly real. At the end of the conflict, the rain seems to subside. Okay? Let's go ahead and help you out here a little bit with that. And the fog clears somewhat, revealing a normal, tranquil place that you're used to being the trading grounds. As soon as that happens, Merc, you leave Brahmas's form and you see yourself changing back into your normal self. Okay? Okay, with that, let's go ahead and pause your action for just a minute, Jeremy.
Perfect.
And then we're going to go ahead and say, does everyone want to take a 15-minute break? I'll leave it up to you guys. Are you guys want to, or you want to continue?
Sounds good for a break.
Okay.
I could use the bathroom in a minute to refresh a beverage and all that good stuff.
Okay. All right, then we'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to, let me do my stop share fun stuff here that I do. Okay, we're going to pause this, and now we're going to do a little bit of expedient stuff so Alex and Sean can actually do something tonight. It's a lot to get through. I hope you guys realize we're trying to make all this work and get everyone in the same room. So we're going to just kind of talk some things through and try to get you guys to meet up somewhere within the city. Brahmas, I know how to get you there. I have some things set because I have to kind of play along and decide how this goes. And if it gets to be too much and it's something you don't think your character would do, just raise your hand and call bullshit, okay? All right, I'm going to pause this and we'll see you back here in about 15 minutes. All right, guys?
Sounds good.
All right. Okay, we're recording again. Everyone has used the bathroom, washed their hands twice, I have to imagine. And we're back to deal with this. So with Jeremy's character, as soon as you've taken out that last spider and done the final blow on top of it, all of a sudden you hear something echoing and speaking to you, but it's in a voice, and it's not Solamar. It's not the angelic voice from before. Roll a perception check for me, which is wisdom.
Okay. Say 11.
Okay. This is the voice of, what's her name? The Order of the Stars? The main one, Ron, what'd you call her again? You're muted, by the way. Invalia?
Invalia, yes.
And who was the actress that portrayed her, did we decide?
I did not have that written down.
Okay. Invalia, is a very high up in the Order of the Stars, which is a religious sect of this city. They're very powerful spell weavers. They don't use the terms wizards and warlocks and things like that. They are in touch with a magic source, and they call themselves spell weavers. And they're very into astronomy, and they're very into that kind of approach to thing, that the moon and the stars and the sun all have a purpose. But the thing is, they actually know that it does. It's not just a theory for them. And they seem to be the governing magical rulers of this whole avian substructure, how everything goes. They're the people that you answer to. And you recognize this voice of Invelia, which is someone that Ignatious, Ron's character, answered to when he was here before. She is using the spell Sending, or I think it's a spell that gives you a message with unlimited distance, and she says a short phrase to you, which interrupts your train of thought while you're inside of this training grounds inside of Brahmas. And it says, and she calls you Merc. Okay, and she has a very enchanting, very long, drawn-out voice, almost like what's her name from the Lord of the Rings? Glinda. What was her name? Sean, you know it because your character's based on the actress that looks like her.
Which one?
Yeah, the one that you know who the hell I'm talking about. People are going to watch this and be like, "You're not a Lord of the Rings fan, and you suck."
Oh,
Lindriel.
Kate Blanchett.
Yes, her character. She has that very long, undertoned, drawn-out, powerful female voice that kind of carries. And it calls to you and it says, Merc, the tiefling has awoken. You are to escort him back with the lowlanders to where he is from. We will see you as soon as possible. Okay? Then the message ends. Little backstory on this. Iridan was a tiefling warlock that came here with the group that escorted Brahmas to the city. He was played by a friend of mine's character, okay? And when Silouan, the one that you've been training, Jeremy, and the one that lost her wing, the one that's trained to be an avian lancer, when we found this chamber that had been closed, that was able to teleport us from the base of the mountain up into the avian city, there were these teleportation rooms, and a lot of them had been shut down because evil spirits had found their way into them and were trying to use them to reach the city themselves. So the Order of the Stars shut these all down. People couldn't use these small, sacred, hidden away, relic-like areas to get in and out of the city, which made people have to skip traveling up that very treacherous Mountains of Tears, Mount Everest kind of trek that you would have to go through to get up there through the wind wall and all that shit. These made it where people could just go. And so we were in one of these, and Iridan was with us, and the spirits that found us there, the spells that were put in place were almost like instruction manuals. We saw these entities appear almost like they were pre-recorded or something, and told us that the evil spirits need to be wiped from this area before we can allow you to use this again. The problem is that this shadow demon that was inside this place inhabited Iridan, this tiefling warlock, very low level, very young, good character, but it jumped in his soul, and it gave this shadow demon a physical body, and it attacked us. And that was a hell of a fight. And he's been unconscious ever since. Now this Invelia is sending a message to you saying he is awoken. And you know normally these people, with that being a tiefling, they would cast it out right fucking now. They did not like the idea of it being here one bit from the start. Just racial as hell, okay? And there is a small airship in this city called Rosalia's Eye. Okay, remember this, Ron? Okay, it is an airship that is about the size of a half of a bus. It can hold probably about 10 people. And it was brought here with you on board it, with Rainlore shipping it and brought you to the Haven City, but it crashed when we found Silouan and we had to have it repaired. So what we're going to say is this, and we can role play out a scene of it if you'd like. Okay, in order to get you back to the city, okay, we're going to say that now that Iridan, this tiefling warlock, has come back to consciousness, you are going to escort him back to the city of New Gimdar, where he has a shop. Okay, he actually has a shop with 2 other people of his kind, where they actually add magical effects and take magical effects from items. Okay, it's a really interesting shop that he's a part of. This was his first big adventure outside the city, and he got hurt pretty bad. Okay, so we're going to say that, and at any point, if you want to stop me and say something that your character would have not done or would like to do differently, Jeremy, jump in here. We're just doing this to get on the same page, okay? It would be hard to refuse her, first off. Secondly, you have a second chance at life now, okay? You've paid your debts. You're doing your thing. And Silouan wants to go with you, okay? You're somewhat hesitant to take her with you, and although she's made leaps and bounds, she's really improving. And you're seeing it's almost like the Matrix, where she's inside you, she's doing like, I know Kung Fu. You know, she's doing training. But when she's in the real world, it's starting to show in her person. She's truly learning things. You guys argue a bit, but it is finally decided that she can go with you, because you know that the Order of the Stars, they will never respect her again because she only has 1 wing. She will never get to be a maiden of song again, because these people are, I don't want to call them snotty, but they have a way about them. They would see her as scorned, and they would pity her. And that's her main argument point with Merc, is that I'm not staying here to be pitied. If you're going back, she goes, and I owe those people that saved my life. She goes, what life I have left is I'm only here because they saved me. And that's talking about Ignatius's character and Danny's character and some of the other ones. So you guys would go out and trek out to go back to the city of New Gimdar on this small airship called Rosalia's Eye, which Iridan actually flew a little bit when he was on his way here, if I'm not mistaken. Did he not, Ron? I think he was studying it, wasn't he? You're muted, my friend.
I don't remember.
Okay. We could say that between Brahmas and Iridan and Silouan's help, you're able to get the airship back to the city of New Gimdar, and you would find your way to the shop where all this started, when you first met people here in the city, which would be Vander's shop. Okay. I will describe Vander to you, and Sean, you kind of listen to this as well. Alex has been there before. Vander looks like Timothy Dalton, the actor that played James Bond. He has a black beard with gray stripes coming in from the corners of his mouth. Very deep voice, very intense looking individual. He wears green and golden robes. And he is, and you know this, Brahmas, he seems to be a high-ranking person in some kind of secret organization that has never been shared with you the name. Okay? But he lives in a place that sells and loans out wondrous relics and collects them and keeps them safely hidden away in this large, vast cellar underneath of his shop in the city of New Gemdar. He seems to have a lot of pull and is very highly respected. You sought him out because you were told that if anyone was going to be able to find people to escort you back to the Avian City, Jeremy, Vander could find you people to help you. So when all this began and I first introduced your character to this group, it was you at Vander's shop sitting at a table asking Danny and different characters to please take you to Avian City so you could submit your body over to them. And you would be going back to that familiar spot. And that is where you would be taking the airship to and heading towards. Okay? So with that, I'm going to put this in the same time frame. Okay? And if there's anything, sometime maybe we can do a one shot where it's just me and you, Jeremy, where I go through your adventure from getting from there to there. You know what I mean? We can always backtrack and do that when it's just a time when you have some time. Okay? We know you'll survive, but we can do something. You know what I mean? So this next morning, it's still fairly early, if I'm not mistaken, that your character, Oma, and your character, Shade, and then Danny's character, Dahan, are still in Leah's place eating food. And this is like 9 o'clock, because 8:30 is when you found Dauntus murdered on the ship. So we'll say this is like between 9 and 10 when you guys are at Leah's eating and talking about wanting to go to Vander's. Okay? Okay. Ron, the next morning when you wake up, you were wanting to go to Vander's as well.
Yes.
Correct? And your
Yes.
reasoning was what?
Well, at this point, I really don't have.
He's a familiar face.
Right. I really don't have any other point of reference to go to. So.
Okay. And you also know that he has a large collection of books with that little girl that's Ember,
Yes.
that lives up in the top attic of the place,
Yep.
of things that has to do with this union of angels and demons and what it could all mean. And Vander seems to have information on that.
As well as I'm looking to get information on the war with the giants as well, to because I'm looking towards what to do to help with the outcome of that.
Okay. So we're going to say this, and this will kind of get us there. Okay. My plan is that, Jeremy, just for the hell, but roll me a 1d20. 1, the trip was tough as hell, and we're going to have some really interesting shit to go through on your way. 20 is that you were able to sail in. You had no problems along the way. The ship's in great shape, and everyone's singing songs together.
You're at an 18.
You got an 18. Okay. You had a pretty easy go of it. All right. Your interaction with Invelia, the Order of the Stars leader back at the city, was very short, very abrupt. It wasn't rude, but it certainly wasn't polite. The formalities that she went through with you to get you to leave, to take this person.
It was civil.
It was civil. Well put. It's about the best I could do it. And I hope no one's mad at me for skipping over all that stuff, because shit, that could be a whole campaign right there. Okay? But I'm just trying to get us to the same place. We can have fun together, people. Together. Okay? So, as we push the fast forward button through and everyone goes super quick, I'm going to say that Alex, your character, and Shade are sitting there with Dahan at the table, and your meal has been brought out to you. Okay? I don't remember exactly what you guys ordered. I remember she was going to give you something that was fairly special, but I can't remember the exact details about it. Sean, do you remember anything of it?
Last I remember, we actually didn't place an order. I know she was going to give some to Oma.
You remember anything
But-
in particular, Alex? Because if not, I can make shit up. I'm a DM. I'm really good at it.
I know that if Shade had an opportunity to order, she would have ordered octopus tentacle Cajun style.
Okay.
Roasted octopus tentacle.
Which is funny because it looked like the ones that tried to take down the ships during the race. Right? So Oma would see those and be like, ugh, great. So as you three are sitting there in Leah's kitchen, practically in this airship themed restaurant, we're going to say it's fairly early. You know you've casted the spell on Dantus. You're hoping he'll be fine on down the road, Alex. Somebody familiar walks in the front door. Okay. The door opens itself up with this large metal and stone crafted hand, almost like it's some kind of golem that would stand outside of a palace to an ancient city or something like that. And it pushes the door open with its large fingers and like this. And from underneath of the arm walks a woman with long braided blonde hair, almost white in its coloring. Okay. You've never seen this woman before, but she has something on her that you find interesting. Okay. You, being a spirit walker, are used to seeing people dress up to do rituals, to talk to the gods, if you will. They would do these amazing headdresses. I don't know if you remember some of the pictures of people that were in your file folder, but we've all seen the films of tribal people that dress up to depict different deities and things and how flamboyantly they dress. And this woman seems to be armored and dressed in something that makes her appear to look like a wyvern. Okay, it is red in color and is made fairly well. You've never seen anything quite like that. And as you lock eyes with this person, you see this head look in the door, and you see light in blue glowing sections from almost what looks like a large helmet of some kind of knight peek from around the side of the doorway and look in slowly, inspecting the room. This looks like some kind of statue come to life. Okay. From underneath his arm walks in this fair female person that is dressed up somewhat like a wyvern because of what she went through. You see her have one wing on her back on her left side, but just one. Okay. Dahon's sitting there, and he looks and he says something underneath his breath. Sean, roll me a perception check.
There's a 12.
Okay. You've never seen anything like this either. And you've turned yourself into all kinds of things. Okay? This is something new. All right? Brahmas, it has been a long journey, and you sometimes forget that other people around you need to eat. And Silouan, when you guys first arrived there and your ship comes in and docks, there is a young blonde-haired man that calls himself Ulran, that dresses in white robes, that looks like a squire almost. I'd say he's maybe 24, 25. And he meets you there, and he's fumbling and has a large book and several different scrolls hanging out of his arms. He seems like he is doing a lot. And on his robe, you would see a symbol that you need to remember and write down. You would see on his robe and on a pendant that hangs around his neck is a symbol of an open book, but there's a sun in the middle of it. And the rays of the sun that come off make it look like a book's pages that have been flipping. Okay? You remember seeing that symbol in Vander's shop before. Okay? And this person, as he's stumbling up, as you guys are trying to pull the ship in, I would like for you to do let's see if he's trying to park this airship, Ron. What are we thinking? Performance check? I mean, I don't know. If that's what he performs. If you're trying to steer and drive something, I'm trying to decide what kind of check that would be, buddy. What are you thinking?
Almost, I'm like sleight of hand. I mean,
I know, right? I'm looking here to see. We're going to see if you wreck this bitch, man. Let's say, I mean, there's nothing here really that talks about that. I know that people watching this are going to be yelling, you know, this is the check you have for driving shit, you dumbass. Let's say that you've practiced with this and with Silouan helping you and Iridan having quite a bit of knowledge as to how these work too, because he had been studying them. Let's go ahead and do this with an investigation intelligence, because you're trying to use things that are there in front of you, like an interaction with these things. So go ahead and roll me a 1d20 and do it with advantage because you have people helping you, Jeremy. And let's see if you're going to owe Skywatch some money or if you're going to park this bitch, man.
With advantage, it's an unnatural 20.
That's good. Okay. A 20 is good news. So as you're bringing this thing in, on the way here, Iridan, the warlock, being young and whatnot, had long conversations with you and has studied this quite a bit. When he was played before, he was a scholar. He was someone that was studying all kinds of things about how to infuse magic into things, how to take it out. That's what his shop does. And so the lodestar, the device that controls this small airship, would be a point of fascination for him. We're going to say this is just represents how well and how far he's came. The whole time that you were traveling back, it was very cold, which doesn't affect you. And there is a small cabin on the back of Rosealia's eye, the name of this small airship. And he would have stayed bumbled up almost as someone is trying to get over an illness, because what he went through was really, really tough. I mean, he was inhabited by a shadow demon and was in coma for quite a while, trying to come back from that and making sure that everything was right with him. We'll do this at some other time where you can have some interactions with him, get to know him. We'll talk about some things that happened along the way. If an 18, it went pretty good, you know. But with that natural 20, you're able to park this thing right in there, and you would see this elven character that we described the last time we played. That looks like John Goodman. I'm such an idiot. Jeff Goldblum. Way different. Jeff Goldblum, this veiled elf that has these pale blue and black colored robes that has almost a very, very faint blue hue to his cheeks, very pale, comes up and you see him exchanging paperwork with this white hooded blonde-haired scholar that's fumbling all these papers. They're giving away some kind of documents to make sure that you're allowed to park the thing here. Okay. As the ship pulls up to the side, Silouan jumps out automatically. And even in her normal footsteps, the way she jumps and bounds back and forth places, Jeremy, is much more agile It has a much more to it than the broken woman that first came to you for help. She is really finding herself and has been training quite a bit. She's very nimble on her feet to the point where you can really tell it just in her normal actions. Okay. As she bounds off the ship, she's wrapping up the rope around this, that, and the other and stuff. And this character comes up to you with a nervous voice, and it looks at you, and it's not sure where to look at on you. This human that has all these scrolls, and he's fumbling around, and he tries to stick his hand out awkwardly and goes, "You must be Brahmas. I've heard so much, but you don't know who I am. Of course you don't." And as you're sitting there stoically staring down at him, he says, I'm Ulran. I'm here from on behalf of Vander. We've taken care of the ship. We've got the paperwork right here. We've got it right here. And he hands it over to this tall veiled elf that is just silently collecting these pieces from him. And he says, he goes, you guys must be, you must be tired. At that point, Silwyn speaks up and she goes, "You could start with me being starved and frozen. Thank you very much." She says like that. She goes, "Where's the best place to get something to eat around here?" He says, he goes, "Well, I suppose there's time for that. We are in kind of a hurry, of course." And Iridan's just sitting back around the ship, still with his blanket wrapped around him like someone that was rescued from a fire. Still kind of has that look to him, at the end of the action movie when they put the blankets on everybody. He has that kind of look to him. And he's saying, but of course, I'm sure there's time. Who's open? He's looking around, and he says, "Oh, over there." And he points to Leah's rare and exotic cuisine. And that's how we get you from the airship to that doorway as you're walking in here and introducing yourself to these two. So as you open up that door and Silwyn is underneath of your arm, walking in there, Sean, Alex, is there anything your two characters are saying as Dahan seems to be giving these two a very curious look, and he says slightly underneath his breath, "What in the hell is that thing?"
I would assume Sade is just silently observing this interaction.
Alex.
Um,
And it's okay if it's nothing. It's perfectly fine. I'm just giving you a chance.
I'd probably remark that the lady is dressed up finely.
Okay. Being familiar with people that dress up in garb like that to celebrate things, it's interesting, this take on a wyvern.
Mhm.
And you've seen, there are a lot of wyverns that fly around and you have to combat them on the airships all the time. It's a normal pest to the lie alone, something you've seen many times. For her to have collected those pieces, and you can't tell if some of them are real or some of them have been handmade. It's a very interesting kind of craft that has made the armor that she wears. As this group comes in and goes to sit down, Brahmas, Merc, your character wants to get to Vander with some kind of haste, and you are simply tolerating this because you know that Silwyn needs to eat, but you're kind of defensive. You would wear a large banner of light gray over top of your shoulder and draped down over top of you that has a long hood, whereas when you first came to this city, to hide who you were, the hood would be down. It would almost be like a hero's cape over one shoulder over top of this massive construct that you proudly are now. Okay? You've been to this city before, and the first time was somewhat in secret, but once you got to know Vander in the shop below, the one that looks like Timothy Dalton, you've come to understand that this place is very open to many different kinds of ideas and styles of people. It is a tribute to the fact that you risked your life to make sure something like this could exist one day, where all different people could be together, be happy to some degree, and you know that in some small part you probably had a part to play in this thing even being here. Okay? As you walk in, Silouan goes over and looks around, walks past your character, Sade, and looks past, and at that moment, Leah brings out this large plate, okay, and throws it down on the table in front of Sade, and it is, would you want to call it? Calamari?
Just Cajun style octopus tentacle.
Okay. As it's thrown down, you can see that it is still moving. And these are not bite-sized pieces. There is some, kind of spices of that area, almost like some Caribbean jerk-like spices that are in a bowl with real herbs and things, and one of those wooden things that you can use to mash with in a bowl that comes over. There's some kind of potent vinegar-smelling sauce that comes over to the side and sits down as well, as this tentacle is actually reaching across the table and flipping just a little bit and suction cups itself to the table and begins to move itself a touch. There is steam coming off of it. I want you to roll me a Constitution saving throw. Sean?
Drop my dice there.
Sean's like, I'm finally rolling dice. Yes.
That is a 7.
Okay. At first, you smelled some of those things, and they smelled pretty good. But when this happens, you feel as if possibly you could be ill. You don't know if you could handle this or not with that roll. On that note, Ron, when you got up,
when I feel ill, my face turns slightly green.
okay, Alex, you see his reaction to this really rare and exquisite cuisine that Whoopi Goldberg or Leah has offered on this. As this bowl gets set down, she comes over and looks at that and looks at your face, Leah, and she's kind of giving you this real curious look. And she looks over to you and she goes, maybe the special was, maybe it's just too much for you to start out with. I do apologize about how some of those things go. Sometimes they're, and she reaches over and she goes to touch it real quick and she wipes her hand on her shirt like this and grabs the suction cups and picks it up like this and slams it down off the table right in front of you guys. Bam! Bam! Does it again, looks at it one more time. Bam! Puts it back down on your plate. She goes, there, that should be a lot more easier for chewing now. And she smiles. She looks back over at Alex's character and she goes, and what can I get you, sweetheart?
I think
You see crustaceans, which are crab-like things. You see that there are some kind of fish that are large, that seem to be some kind of large armored fish that actually sits in a bowl made of its own plates. There are some kind of things that look like shrimp or prawns, but they are all kinds of different colors. And they smell really, they smell about as good as anything would here. And then you also see that there are some different kinds of breads and things that she makes in the shape of different sea creatures that would almost be the equivalent of Cheddar Bay biscuits at the Red Lobster, because it's fucking fantastic and I want them in this world. So, so with that, of those things, what would you like to order?
I think I would like to try the fish.
Okay, this large armored fish. She looks at you, she goes, absolutely. She goes, you wouldn't believe how delicate and tender those suckers are. They live a pretty simple life. They never have to stress out their bodies. No, not even a little bit. They don't even have to fight for anything because nothing can get through those plates, except for us in the kitchen, though. I'll be back in just a few minutes with your meal. well done, or you like a little pink in there?
Well done.
Suit yourself. looks unimpressed by you wanting to overcook the fish, but she'll do it for you. But she thinks you're odd. Okay, and you can tell from her reaction. As she turns over, you notice, Sade, that this woman dressed up in a wyvern's garb takes her helmet part and pushes it back, and it actually has mechanisms on the side built into the armor that lets it slide back, and the wings seem to come down off the sides of the helmet back behind her. And then she takes it the rest of the way off and wears it and looks over at that, and she goes, is everything like that here?
But no, it's my first time here. But I do love octopus. I've just never seen it flail around like that.
She looks over at your character, Brahmas, and she goes, maybe just some soup? She kind of nods like that, like that's what she would like. As she is, Leah looks up for a minute and says, y'all hold on right there. I'll be with you guys. Just sit anywhere you want. It's busy this morning. And she goes back on behind the counter and has told Brahmas, you and for Silouan to sit anywhere you would like. You look across this place, and like I said, it is a tropical themed airship is what it looks like on the inside, with all kinds of neat vines and things hanging from the ceilings, masks and stuff from her tribal country. It smells amazing in here, so they must be cooking something. Is there a place in particular you would like to sit, or are you a person, if you're back to people, you want a booth, you want a chair? What kind of stuff would you be looking for, Brahmas?
Definitely try to take her to a corner where I could be facing the door.
Okay.
That way, if anything were to come up, he could react to it pretty quick.
Okay. As you do, you would decide to escort her over to a back corner, and
As they're walking by, Sade summons Isadora to her side, and then telepathically tells Isadora to quietly follow them, keeping a distance.
okay. Are you wanting to do this in a way where people can't notice the bird? You want to summon it down to the floor?
Yeah, I want to summon it like under the table, and then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Roll me a sleight of hand check.
That is a 15.
Okay. Okay. As you do, Brahmas, roll me a perception check. That's wisdom.
16.
Okay. So it's because you're trying to be the security guard here as you were walking back into the corner and escorting Silouan into a booth where you can turn around and kind of be a door watcher. You see a flash of something shadowy underneath of a table over to the side, and you would swear to you that you see a raven appear underneath of a chair of this dark-haired, pale-skinned woman that was sitting there eating where that squid, that tentacle was at, okay, the octopus tentacle. And it seems to almost be somewhat transparent, like it's not completely a full raven, until it flies about 5 foot away from him and then turns into what looks like a fully gauged raven, okay? And it soars up and flies up into the second layer of this place and lands on the outside of a window and seems to look down your direction and about kind of watchdogging. Your character has had conversations, Brahmas, with Basteil, which is Danny's rogue character, about a city of ravens, and that he was needing to get back to the city at some point after he was done escorting you to the Avian City, because there was some interference with people from the city of Ravens and the good city of New Gemdar. He didn't get into much more detail than that. This would remind you of that. What is your reaction to this?
I'm not going to make a scene of it just because I'd like for Selwyn to, get her food, finish eating, so we can move on, do what we got to do. But I'll make sure to keep an eye on it, just to kind of see what it does.
Okay. At this point, Ron, in the morning, when you decide to get up and leave, and you are going to leave airily, how would you say that? Via air, airily? How would you say it? I'm going to fly out the fucking window and leave this place. I want you to roll a perception check, please.
$27.
27. Thank God for you helping me here. You see Rosalia's eye, the airship that came to your city that was being repaired, coming into port from the balcony of the window. Okay. You would see off in the distance with your sight and the way that you are, Ron, you would see Brahmas, and then you would see someone with Brahmas that you can't quite recognize, but you do see a long tuft of white blonde hair fall out from underneath of this armored helmet, and you think to yourself, I mean, if a 27, you think to yourself, surely that's Selwyn? But it's not been long enough. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But boy, that sure looks like the color. But and then you see the one wing on the back, and then you're like, that is her. How? And you can't fathom how that's possible. Okay. What do you do? And you're on your way to Vander's.
Mm-hmm.
But you see them off there, and they seem to be having an interaction with this Ulran. Ulran, I think you met him too, Ron. When you first went to Vander's, he was the other scholar Adon, the one that was there and was introduced to you by Vander. He was like kind of his mentor under Vander. If I'm not mistaken, he was there in the shop. And
What did he look like?
Like I described earlier, he looked kind of like a squire with sandy brown, blonde hair, human. Always
I don't think I met him. When I went into Vander's, it was I want to say it was a gnome, maybe.
Oh, okay, that's right. Yep, it was a gnome. So you would not, but with that perception, you would recognize the symbol of the book and the sun.
Okay.
On the robes, greeting them. Put that together however you will. It will take you a moment or a few moments to swoop down to that direction. They seem to be having an interaction, and walking their way in towards the city. I will get you all under the same roof if it kills me. Okay? I'm working my magic. I'm working it. So with that, Ron, you investigate this, or do you go on to Vander's? This is pretty pulling.
Yeah, I would definitely, obviously, if I saw Selwyn, I would definitely fly down to greet them.
Yeah, and Brahmas with only half himself covered with no hood on.
Right.
I mean, that's a big freaking deal. Okay.
Yeah.
As you do, you show up a little late, as they've already went into this restaurant of sorts that seems to say Leah's rare and exquisite cuisine on the outside. But looks like I've said many times, it looks like an airship halved and built into what seems to be this fine restaurant that has a tropical theme. That seems to be up here in Skywatch, the city. Do you just walk on through the door? Do you investigate, or is there anything more to it than that?
I would throw my cloak over my wings and kind of follow, kind of go in the doorway to see if I can see where they went.
Okay. As you step in the doorway, you see several different people out there in front of you. You see Oma. You know Oma very well. You've met her. We've had interactions here before. You people were friends, and you know how that works. You also see Dahan sitting there, but there's someone new into the group, which is Sean's character. You've been there and you understand what his character looks like? He's explained to you and things of that nature, correct, Ron? Or do you need an explanation?
No, I've kind of picked up on what his character looks like.
Just for the hell of it, Sade, give a brief description as to what you look like sitting there, please. Just for the hell of it.
Okay, so right now, because I'm in public with Dahan and Oma, I currently look like this waitress I saw at another bar, Rosealia.
Yeah.
However,
you've met her.
So I currently look like this person, Rosealia, although in different clothing. Yeah.
Okay, you know Rosealia pretty well, Ron.
I do.
You know Rosalia's Eye is the name of the ship that just came in.
Mm-hmm.
And so think of that what you will. This is going to be fun. Okay. Rosalia's sitting there. You've had conversations with her. Mm-hmm. You and Oma, you know what's going on. Brahmas, your character knows Ron probably, I don't want to say the best, but you have the most history.
Mm-hmm.
You remember what I described to you about that from before, buddy?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. That he was the one that took your mortal body and infused it into Brahmas and saved your life. He was the one that decided, well, no, he was the one that told Vargas how to do it. Vargas was the Blackwing Guard, the mighty speared avian lancer warrior that grabbed your dead body off the battlefield or dying and went to Ignatious, which is Ron's character, and said, please, we've got to do something for this one. And Ignatius was the one that was able to get you and put you into Brahmas. Okay, so you knew him way back in the day, and when you finally woke up and you were able to find your way through this vast castle, which is Brahmas, you awoke to see a much older version of Ron's character looking over top of you. Okay, like hundreds of years had passed. And that's your guys' history. And Ron is the one that did the study, found the ruins of Solomar, and conducted the ceremony in which Solomar came in, and you had your experience with him. Okay, where he came in, walked in the vessel with you, and told you that you could keep it. He was going to give you the chance at a second life that you didn't have. So he's kind of been like the architect of that in the background. He was the manager of this whole thing, and you have a lot to thank him for. Okay. When you see him walk through the door, just for the hell of it, roll me a 1d20, Ron, and Jeremy, you roll me a 1d20. We're going to see who acts first.
18.
18. What you got, Jeremy?
15.
Okay. Ron, you have a chance here. What would you like to do, if anything? The food smells good but weird.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm okay with weird. I was always experimenting with lowlander food, so I'm okay with that. I think under the circumstances, I would avoid the table with Rosealia because of what just happened with Bass. And
well put, yeah.
And I would beeline over to Silouan.
Okay.
Because if she's up and about and traveled here already, then
she stands up quickly as someone that saw like an uncle coming home from a war almost. But it's strange to you, Ron. She looks at you as if she's missed you forever. You see water form around her eyes almost sentimentally. And you see her face soften as this wyvern-like helmet is laid on a table off to the side with Brahmas standing there, shield still on his back with his arm folded, peering out, You know he's in there, although this construct may not show the emotion of it. She comes out, and did I talk to you about what she looks like? Did you see her character, Ron?
Yeah.
That actress from what the hell would you call it? The others, the blonde-haired actress. No, what's it called? She's been all kinds of things. She was in Mean Girls, but that's a bad example.
Amanda Seyfried.
Yeah. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Really big eyes, blonde hair.
Mhm.
She does that, and she comes running across to you and runs up on you, and before you can hardly even react, she comes up and gives you a big hug, Ron. And she does, and she looks at you, and the armor that she's wearing around her body kind of hits into you and kind of takes your breath for just a minute. But you're just surprised, you know what I mean, to see her here. With that, she looks up and she wipes her eyes like that, kind of nervously, and she looks at you, and she just looks around this place completely fascinated. And she says, what would she say? This was a lot for her. She goes, Eridan finally awoke, and Invelia asked that we bring him back here to leave the city. Obviously, neither one of us are good enough to be in the city of dreams anymore. She says, but with a smile on her face, like she's being sarcastic about it. It doesn't seem to bother her as much as it once did. She goes, I can't believe we've only been here just moments, and automatically have you cast a spell on us or something? Did you know we were coming? She looks at you curiously, as if you've been keeping an eye on her from afar.
I would tell her that I saw the ship coming in and saw her on it, and then I said we should sit down. I know it's only been a short time, but there's much to talk about.
She looks right and left, and she looks uncertain. She goes, a short time. Yeah. A short time, she says. She goes over, and she sits down. And Brahmas, do you have anything to say at this point as the two of you lock eyes for a moment as Ignatious walks over towards you?
I think at this point, he's probably had his eye on that raven and just one-track mind it.
Okay.
So at that point in time, after that interaction with those two, he kind of snap to and kind of stare at Ignatius for a second, like just like the gears are just slowly ticking.
Right on. Ignatius, you're used to this because you know on the face of this thing, although there are certain gestures and pieces that move, you know the person inside. You've shared food and drink with him. You've seen Merc when he was a human before in a bad condition, and when he was given it until sundown to be outside of his body. You know there's more going inside there than what this construct is showing. What are you doing?
Well, knowing what I know about how the construct works, I would just let him do what he needs to do, and
okay,
I would sit down and start talking to Silhouette about all the amazing things I've seen in the few days that I've been traveling.
Okay. In this conversation, you and her share several things. We'll use this as a moment to kind of get you two caught up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Roll me a charisma check.
17.
Okay, and she rolled a natural 19. Okay, so let's say that this conversation goes extraordinarily well, and you find out several things about her. One is she has decided that she is going to become a member of the Lancers, and that Vargas has told her that if she can prove herself and do it by studying what Brahmas has within him, she can come back and she can show Invelia and all of them that she is worth more with one wing than she ever could have been with both. She seems very strong-willed about this. And she tells you that inside of Brahmas, time is different, as you know, which you know a lot about the body of Brahmas and how it works, and that she has spent months where time has moved differently for her as she has been inside of him studying and doing this under his tutelage. Okay, which is great because that was what you wanted Brahmas to do. You wanted him to find purpose in the second chance at life, and it seems like he's done that very well. Okay, I'll give you 3 questions that you're able to ask her with that check that she will answer you honestly about him, about the inside, almost kind of like that spell that Alex did the other day. I'll give you 3 questions. What would you like to ask her?
I would ask, I guess, was she able to, I guess, how was she able to travel in and out of Brahmas?
Okay. The way that works is that it's almost like, she says it's almost like a communion. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Brahmas has the ability to step outside of himself, but he doesn't have that ability anymore. But he can draw a runic mark on a floor or something and cast it as a spell, almost like a gate-like spell. Okay. And it seems to be because of her ascension, because of the race that she is, there is something about her that is able to travel inside of this thing. Okay. You know, this was meant to be a vessel for an angelic being.
Mm-hmm.
And you would think it would have to be because of the bloodline that ties you guys directly to those beings, that makes them be able to, that makes you and others be able to travel in and out of this construct. Okay. So because of that, there's a gate-like thing that he can open up. Merc has found a room that talks about the study of this and has shown him how to draw the mark out. And it takes about 10 minutes to do this. But when he does, she can actually do that, and it teleports her inside of Brahmas, the castle. Okay. And you know, it has to do directly with her, you and her bloodline to angelic beings.
Okay.
Okay. If you don't know the other 2 questions right off, I don't mean to put pressure on you, but you're more than welcome. If you do it.
Let me see. I guess I would ask her, what are her plans now that they've come here? Is she planning on staying in New Gimdar, or are they, is she going to continue training with Merc? Are they, what are their plans?
She looks up at you, Jeremy, when the 2 have this mention of this. At this point, Sean, has your Raven been overhearing this conversation?
It's been trying to listen in, and I've been trying to listen in through the Raven. So
Roll a perception check.
we'll use the Raven's perception since that's what I'm
Okay.
listening to. Which is not great. That is a 9.
Nothing quite. You just understand that these people seem to know each other, and they are just making up for lost time. That's all you can really tell off a 9. Oma, when you and Dahan are sitting at the table discussing, what your next steps and things are, Shaday's seems very distant in this conversation, as if she is being split and distracted and talking about something else. Okay, her mind is somewhere else. Okay, Just a note. And what was the last thing you asked, Silo and Ron? What was that?
Well, now that they've
Okay.
they've brought them here, what are her plans?
Okay. So she looks up at Brahmas and she says, now that we've completed what Envelia wanted, are we in a hurry to go back?
As she asked that, he'll lean in and say, don't mention names. There are eyes, there are ears. And I don't trust what I see. And he's not going to point to it or anything else. He's just going to make it known that there's something suspicious that he doesn't want to freely give information to. Okay,
that makes sense. With that, Ignatius, roll a charisma check, because sometimes he'll nervously look around the room anyway, because I know his character. Silouan would be with you when you say that.
Okay, on my charisma check, I've got a 24.
Oh, fucking dude, you're Kohen Luke. You're like,
Yeah.
I'm with you, buddy. I got you. So Ron's not showing his cards to anybody. Okay. With that, you all see a person that you all know in common, except for Sean's character. You see, how do I want to do this? Okay. You guys were headed, and I'm trying to make sure this makes sense, okay? Because we're gonna get this. We're gonna get this. You guys were headed to Vander's, okay? To find out about Basteil. Okay. Ron, you were going to Vander's because of the only other people that you knew in the city now that Basteil was gone. Okay. And Brahmas, you were going to make your way to Vander's because you wanted to thank him because of the people that he hooked you up with. You were able to get Brahmas back to the city in one piece, and the ritual was completed. And you told him you would return one day. And this is your chance to do that now that you're out of the city. Okay? So with that, someone familiar to all of you walks in. And you have seen this person around, Sean, but you've never said anything to her. And Valdera walks into Leah's. Okay? Ron, you know Valdera very well. She is the the warrior woman with the large great sword, half shaved head with all the black hair stuffed over the side, somewhat attractive in a gothic kind of way, stocky build, has a big.
Behemoth.
What's that?
She was on my behemoth team, I believe.
Yes, she was.
Yeah.
She has this large plate of what looks like a lion's face on her shoulder, and she has this dark brown and black fur cloak that goes over half of her body, and she's armored in half mail that looks to be black and gray in its color, and she looks like a bounty hunting badass chick is what she pretty much looks like. And she walks into this place. Oma, you've been on many different adventures with her. You've hung out with her. Ron, you definitely have met her. Brahmas met her the first night when you were at Vander's. She was there half drunk and out of her mind when you walked in. But you don't know much about her. But she walks in, and she opens up the door and takes a look around and looks at all you there. And she kind of looks at you and kind of sarcastically like that. And she goes, what, are we trying to turn this into the new fucking drunken mug or something? Where's your loyalty? She says like that out loud. Ignatius, you know that she's used to bringing people into the drunken mug. and she looks around and she sees Brahma standing there, and she kind of looks shocked, and she looks over and sees Dahan. Dahan leans into you, Sean, and says, if there's ever one girl that could outdrink me, you're looking at her. That's Valdera.
Okay. So since throughout my investigation, I know that Rosealia works at the Drunken Mug.
Mm-hmm.
About
to get interesting.
Right, it's about to get interesting. I'm like, okay, thank you. She's staying on for the heads up.
Okay.
And is going to do her best to fake her way through this conversation that's probably going to happen.
Okay, so Valdera walks up, and she puts her hand on Oma on your chair.
Huh.
And she looks at you, and she goes, are you keeping these boys in line? A long, awkward pause comes from Oma. She doesn't know what to say. She looks across the table, and she's looking at different people, and she looks over at your character, Ignatious, and gives you a nod. Like one warrior from another, because she fought with you. Okay? Oma, do you have a response for that? Do you just kind of say, and you don't know what to say?
Just
Okay. She looks around the table, and she looks at you. And she goes, did you have a late one last night, Rosealia? What are you doing up here of all places? She kind of smiles.
I heard this place is great, so I decided to check it out.
Performance check.
Performance or deception?
You know what? You pick.
I'm gonna pick deception.
Okay.
Where's my lucky dice?
Yeah, you better get a
I've
lucky.
been rolling like shit all night.
Yeah. Jeremy, you getting an idea what the hell's going on here?
A little bit.
Okay.
Okay, I got a super high roll, so 26.
You fuck. She can't beat you. No. Somehow you've been practicing on the voice in Oma.
Mhm.
This would impress you. How good of a Rosealia that he does right now. He sounds like her. It almost fools you into thinking that maybe this is actually her for half a second. And what is it you say again to this Valdera as she looks at you very studyingly?
I'm off today, and I heard this place was great, so I decided to come try it out.
She looks down at the table, and she looks in your bowl. And she looks at you odd. She goes, if you start serving that shit, says Aloria's going to kill you. And Aloria's the other bartender at the place. She goes, so, yeah. And she walks over. She grabs a chair from another table where there's two other people sitting. And she grabs her extra chair. She goes, you don't need that, do you? And she doesn't really even wait for the response. She just kind of takes the chair. And they're left kind of looking at each other like, but what, you know. And she takes the chair and she spins it around. And she sits on it with her arms hanging over the back of it like that. She sits down beside.
As she sits down, Rosealia is going to excuse herself from the table. It's like, I have to find the little girl's room.
You see her mouth go like, little girls. You know, I figure eating squid will probably do some nasty shit to your insides. Good luck with that. Pasta's in for a treat. Turns around, looks back over, and looks at you, Oma, and says, I figured you'd have slept in a little late after the long day that you guys had yesterday. How you holding up? Remember, Valdera fought in the one fight too, and she saw you there as well. So
I'd say I did sleep in until about 9:30.
as you do, and you're kind of smiling at her, she looks at you and she says, it's just kind of coincidence. She says, I was going to ask Basteil about this, but for some reason I can't find him around. She goes, but it just dawned on me. I could ask you. And she goes, and she looks over at seeing Rosalia's gone. It's just really you and her at the table in Dahon now. And she kind of looks at Dahon for a minute. And those two have done several battles together. They're pretty close. And she looks at you and she says, I've been trying to occupy myself lately. I'm going through some stuff, she says. And you know that you saw this darkness come out in her at the end of that last fight that you were in. You saw what happened when she took that behemoth down and did that strike that went up through its muzzle. Do you remember all that, Alex?
Yeah.
You're watching that happen. And you know kind of what she's talking about. And she's brushing it off as something not as important as what you would probably feel that it truly is.
Mm-hmm.
She says, I'm just trying to surround myself with good company lately. She goes, Tamir has been kind of helping me through this, which is the paladin, you know.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, but I've been wearing her down. It's becoming too much of a burden. I've got a couple contracts under my belt. I was just wondering maybe if I could travel with you guys on the ship, maybe invite myself, talk to Aeolus,
Sure.
be around someone that could, kind of shake off the nightmares if I would need that help. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll put in a good word for you.
Yes, thanks. With that, you guys hear a commotion outside. Okay, we'll get through this and we'll end it for the night. Okay, because I know it's 9:30. With this, you guys hear a commotion outside. There's lots of conversations going on in here. Rosealia, you're back in the bathroom.
Yeah, in the bathroom. Once I get to the bathroom, if there's a stall, I find a stall, turn into shade, and kind of like go into the Raven so I can observe anything that's going on inside while I'm sitting in the bathroom stall.
So you're on the shitter blind.
Yeah.
And using your familiar, the Raven, and watching what's going on out there and really tuning into it, okay? And there's a commotion outside. Ignatious, roll me a perception check with your hearing. You are muted. Did you say 23? Can I read lips?
13.
Damn it. I saw a 3. And that was it. You don't hear anything particularly, but you hear there seems to be some kind of disturbance, and you see a couple people run past the door and past the windows outside as if there's some kind of commotion or excitement going on.
All right.
Go ahead.
I would say I would definitely go to see what it is.
Okay. Ignatious stands up and he sees a commotion outside of the door. You're back in the bathroom. Sade, your Raven, sees Ignatius stand up and look concerned. As that happens, I'm going to say Valdera says, what the? And she looks over the top of her shoulder. Is anybody doing anything right now?
Command my Raven to caw and kind of like gesture toward the door, and Sade slips out of the Raven's view and attempts to leave the bathroom.
Okay, you want to leave the Raven there, or you want to try to go out the open door?
I'm gonna go out the. It's gonna motion toward the open door, and then as I walk out of the bathroom toward the open door, I want the Raven to come perch on my shoulder.
Okay, you still look like Rosealia?
No. I change into Sade.
Okay. As this being comes out the door, someone comes running in the open space. Okay. And it is the, I will say it is the Pale Warden, the veiled elf that you spoke to and docked your ship. The one that you spoke to, Shade, that is the one that collects all the different tolls and fees for the ships here, the Jeff Goldblum one. Ignatius, I don't know that you've ever seen the Pale Warden. Okay. As he walks in, he looks like this, kind of questioningly, and he looks down at Valdera and looks over to you. She goes, yes, 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 and you, and we've got you, yes. Question for everyone, and I'll start with, he has this one right here. He says very interestingly, and looks at Valdera, and Valdera has kind of like a stink face look on her. And she goes, if you're done eating, then you will be needed elsewhere. You will be needed outside. Yes, yes. Come outside. And turns around with a very strange request and walks quickly out the door, as if it's staring at something happening out in the city. What are you doing, Ron? You're up.
I'm gonna go outside.
Okay. What about the rest of you? Sean, you've just busted out of the bathroom and your true form, or the one that looks like the one we're used to, Sade. Are you
Yeah, Sade, yeah.
out the door?
Yeah, I'm out the door.
Oma, you see this. You see that Leah has just started to bring your plate of food and is halfway to the table and looks at you and kind of has this look like, ah, shit, kind of like on her face. And she looks at you. What are you doing?
I look forlornly at my food and then start making my way towards the door.
Okay. As you do that, Ignatius, you see Silouan jump up from her seat and start to walk out that direction too. Brahmas, are you just staying back and watching everyone safely, or what are you doing?
No, he's gonna head in hand, and then just stand up and follow.
Okay. Ron, as you go outside, Iridan, the tiefling sorcerer, is coming up in robes, keeping himself warm, the one that you guys brought back from the avian city, still weakened. And he looks at you and he looks at Brahmas, and the group of you are standing outside the front door now, all together. And says, how can I put this? I'm trying to think. Says something seems to be happening in the valley below. And he's speaking to, I would say, of all these people, I would say he'd be speaking to Brahmas. Okay? And Ignatius, probably looking in between you two, because I think Iridan really got to know Brahmas the most. You just saw him after he got possessed. You didn't get to really see him consciously, did you, Ron?
No.
Once the Shadow Demon entered him, he was brought to the city, already knocked out. So, Brahmas, you're the one that really knows him. And Silouan knows him too. He was one of them that helped rescue Silouan, okay, on the way up there. So he looks at the two of you, and he goes, it would seem that people leaving from the, I suppose, some kind of fighting arena from last night were traveling along the lower road and seem to be attacked by some great worm. Okay? And looks down and looks over to the side, and you see people running up to the edges of the docks. Dahan pushes past you guys and lumbers out in a dead sprint, heading towards the docks, and looks back over his shoulder and looks at Oma. Says, come on, let's get it.
Alrighty.
Okay. As you guys make your way and run up to the sides, almost like bystanders, walking up to the edge of a dock, looking down at what's going on, hundreds upon hundreds of feet down below the docks, you know that leaving New Gemdar, there are several different roads, and there's a large flat area around the main part of the city. If you are traveling the direction northwest, that would take you to the city of Argon, which are the Lost Woods and where the dwarves are from. Okay. In the distance, I'm going to say of everyone here, Ron, your character would be able to see this the most. But now that you're outside, you hear this high pitch squeal that to you almost sounds like the ringing in your ears the day after you've been to a concert. But you can't imagine how far away that sound would be for you to be picking it up here on this spot. Okay? As you walk by and Brahmas is moving some people out of the way and making his way through the crowd, you look down and you catch a glimpse of something that you've never seen before. Roll me a history check, Ron, for the hell of it.
$26.
Wow. You see what appears to be just a split second of a large, gigantic looking frost worm that seems to be ducking its head just back below the snow's surface. That seems to have headed off and attacked a group of dwarves that are making their way back to the city of Argon from the fights the other day.
Is that worm with an O or worm with a Y?
Worm with an O. Okay. With your history check, this is what you know. Okay. Dwarves are loud and noisy. Okay. And in the arena battles that we had here just the other day, there were a lot of people from a lot of different places that brought over creatures that had been captured to put into these fights. Okay, now you know the city of New Gemdar normally will not conduct business of any kind of dirty kind of affairs and shit like that. But if there are creatures that have been destroying and murdering and things like that, a lot of times they'll trap them and people will bring them to the city to be unleashed so people can fight and attack them and see if they're able to take them down. Okay, the dwarves have brought several different creatures like it over the years, and they're famous for being able to escort them safely from the lost wood of Argon to this city. It would seem like on their way back, with what is some of the leftovers of some of these beasts and creatures and things, they have drawn the attention and been too loud on the now ice-covered and snow-covered surfaces outside facing those mountainous area as you go northward. They are probably about a mile out from the city, and they are going into a place where it was a flat, large fielded area with a road, and the cliffs start to form along the sides of it. And as the cliff and the road breaks into a Y, one would be going more northward towards the city of the dwarves. One would be going straight across to the Red Mountains, where Ron in the Avian City is from. In that Y, there seems to be an attack that has went on. And you hear a bunch of dwarves yelling, different shouting voices in the distance that are traveling up the winds. And you saw what looked like a frost worm burrowing itself back down underneath the snow. Okay. With that, Silouan comes darting past you guys and grabs onto Iridan and says, "What are you just standing there and waiting for? Come on. Come on." And she grabs onto him and pulls him, kind of sickly, like it kind of yanks the young tiefling, still trying to recover, off himself a little bit. And she's got him by the sleeve, and she's dragging him back to that small airship, Rosealia's Eye. She means to go down there and do battle with this thing. Okay. Brahmas, what are you doing?
If Brahmas had hair, she would be the reason it's turning gray.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Well, he's going to follow. 'Cause
Okay.
He can't let her do that by herself.
Okay.
He knows that she's good, but he doesn't have that much faith in her yet.
Oh, yeah, of course. With that, Valdera looks over at your character, Alex,
Mhm.
and says, Frostworm. Do you know what we can get for the scales on that thing at the heart of the beast? You in?
I'm
I
in.
need you. What are you saying to her, Oma? Perfectly fine. Your call.
I'm in.
Did you say it hesitantly, or do you are you in for it?
Hesitantly.
Okay. With that, you make your way to the ship, Ignatious. You're seeing these people load up, and you're seeing Brahmas. Brahmas looks in between you and looks at Silouan, then looks back at you and gives his shoulders a shrug, takes his hand and rubs on the back of his head like that, takes after her towards the ship. What is your character doing?
Well, I'm going to go help out. And I've always wanted to meet a dwarf.
Okay. With that, Shade, your character bursts out of there. The Raven is out ahead of you. You're seeing everyone making their way and running towards this small airship as they're breaking the crowd, and you're seeing the wake of this large construct creature like Brahmas that's parting all these people, and he's heading across the dock towards what seems to be a small, more manageable airship that would be about the size of half of a bus, that has a large sail on it, that has a blue sail with a white picture of an eye with long eyelashes done on the actual sail of the ship. You're seeing Oma running that way. You're seeing Dahon ran over there, and he's starting to undo and unwind the spokes and things of that nature. What are you doing?
Seeing Jahan trying to undo ropes, Sade is going to shout out, "Wait for me!" And she's going to go and help him undo ropes, and then get onto the ship. And
Okay. So here's your chance, Oma. If you're not wanting to go about this and you don't want to go with this particular group, you're more than welcome to wait there with Dahon. Dahon says to you that he says, I'm going to go let Ao know and see what's going on. Maybe get a ballista or something down there. You, he looks at Valdera and he looks at you and he says, what are you doing? And he's saying it kind of urgently, as everyone seems like it's the sirens going off in the city. People are starting to get onto their airships. People are doing shit. And he's asking you pretty much, are you going with him or are you going to go with this group? And Valdera's just kind of looking at you with her eyebrow raised. You know, either one will take you. What do you want to do?
I think I'm going to go with the group. They'll need a healer.
Okay. Okay, with that,
Probably.
who gets on the small airship? Talk to me. We've got Iridan is going to help pilot the thing because he's the best at it, because he studied it. Brahmas is getting on. Valdera is getting on, my character. Alex is getting on because Valdera has asked for her to kind of help her fight these inner demons and stay close to her for a little bit because she wants to give Tamara a break. Okay. Ron, you're pretty much jumping on because Silouan took running off on this and is wanting to be a hero. Okay. And Sade, you're basically running on board here. You wanting to join with them, you said?
yes, I'm going on board. I passed by Dahan and I said, "Don't worry, I'll look out for her." And then
Nice.
I go on because I still need them to point me out to this Basteil person that they decided to talk to. So
Okay, nice.
yeah.
So with that, you guys get into a very small, very fast airship, and it starts to plummet quickly. It had been going just moments ago before you guys walked into this place. The air's blowing cold. No snow at this point. The snow has seemed to stop, but there's about 3 inches on the ground down below. Maybe just
Is
some
there-
light snow.
Sorry. Is there a chain of command
It
on the
doesn't
ship, or is
appear
it
to be
just
at this moment?
okay? So assuming naturally, because this is what she does on her own ship, Sade will immediately start taking second in command and start giving orders so we can get the ship ready to leave.
Okay,
and
awesome.
stuff.
So in doing that, Oma, you've never really taken over the job duties and things of a ship. You've always catered to what happens with the people on board and things like that. You've been on this ship for about maybe 6 months. Dahan would be the one, and you're seeing her kind of jump in and filling his shoes here. Shaday's character seems to know about ships, and you know that she was a right-hand person on the Dreadnought, which is probably the most powerful ship in Skywatch. Okay, so you have a moment that makes you feel a little bit more confident as to what's going on. Ron, you're noticing this as well. This person that seems to come out of there you've never really laid eyes on before has this raven that goes up and sits on the actual sail of this. Brahmas, you're seeing that as well, and she seems to be saying different things. Brahmas, how does that strike you?
It's the same raven that I seen in the tavern, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, it's going to strike him odd because I don't believe Brahmas knows Sade.
No, you don't. But for some reason, she's coming to the service of the city here.
It's definitely going to catch him off guard to see the raven again.
Yeah,
but at this point, he can narrow it down to who's on the ship rather than just who was in the restaurant.
Okay.
So that's probably what he'll actively attempt to do is kind of pick faces out and see who's paying more attention to the raven besides himself.
Okay. As you guys go swooping down into the snow fields down below, you seem to have the jump on any other ship. At that point, as you're going down, Oma, you look back onto the ship, taking a deep breath and preparing yourself bravely as you see Dahan standing on the side of the side of the pier, watching you guys take off quickly. And he raises a hand and waves it like that. And he takes his hand and does that symbol that you and him had talked about. Yeah, he does that thing. And he holds it up like that so you can see it. Okay? That's kind of a personal thing between the two of them. We'll go ahead and end tonight's thing there. And the next thing we'll be doing is going down and dealing with whatever menace this is. You never know what's going to happen. Okay? So at least that got us all in the same room. We've had a chance to play through some different scenarios. Did some things here. We'll see how this feels. See the kind of bonds you guys have. And see if this is going to be the adventuring party. What do you guys think of that?
Sounds fun.
That's great.
So what I'll do is I'll stop the recording and then we'll have a little 5-10 minute long bullshitting session and everybody can get off here and prepare to deal with their jobs and the real things that Mondays bring. Okay? So if you watch this, I know we're trying to get through some things and get into the same room. Sometimes it takes a game of this to get there, but I think it went as well as it possibly could have. We got an odd group of people on a little ship going after some big old dangerous shit. And I mean, if that's not D&D, what is? So having said that, thanks for watching, and we will see you guys next time. Later.
Bye.